It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Great panel for you. Sam Abul-Samad, my car guy, is here from San Francisco Business Times. Owen Thomas and my dear friend Ed Bott from ZDNet. We'll talk about Bill Gates' fascinating interview in the Times of London in which he says, I might be autistic. I might be. We'll also talk about Trump coin and why the crypto community is aghast. And a Chinese AI startup that did a lot more for a lot less. All of that and more coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 1016, recorded Sunday, January 26th, 2025. Marc or Marx? It's time for Twit, This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the latest tech news. I have gathered a fine ensemble of people who don't enjoy football. Actually, that's a lie. Some of them are making sacrifices. Ed Bott is here, senior contributing editor at ZDNet. He says, I'm making a sacrifice being here. Thank you, Ed.
My pleasure, Leo.
I appreciate it. Do you want me to tell you the score? No. You pause the TiVo, as they say. He is, of course, senior contributing editor at ZDNet. I know that because it says it right under his chin. And you moved out of Albuquerque.
Oh goodness, we're in the Research Triangle Park area of North Carolina now.
Nice. Everybody, Did you know that everybody's moving to North Carolina?
We met some friends the other day who their entire family over the course of 4 years moved from various parts of California to the same little town in North Carolina. So yes, it's true.
It's a nice place to be. And you're not having a polar vortex, I hope.
It seems to have passed.
Good. The weather has warmed up. Also with us from San Francisco, where the weather is always a perfect 58 degrees, Owen Thomas, managing editor of the San Francisco Business Times.
I think it's more like an Arctic 52.
Oh, chilly. It's chilly. Too bad you don't have any more Anchor Steam beer to warm you up.
Oh, they're bringing it back. New owners.
Oh, hallelujah. That was a sad day when they closed the doors.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can't stop bottling. Know,
be like not having sourdough bread or something.
It's something is bubbling up here all the time.
It's great to see you, Owen, and my car guy, Sam Abul-Samad. New job. He's VP Market Research at Telemetry Insights. That's telemetryagency.com. But still writing about cars, Sam?
I am still writing about cars, still doing the Wheel Bearings podcast. And we started a new transportation and mobility focused research and advisory practice out of Telemetry, which is a company founded by my friend Craig Deitch 5 years ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So are you specializing a little more into?
No, still covering the same areas that I did when in my previous job. I just decided that it was time for a move away from a company where market research was a tiny little branch of about 50 or 60 people in an 18,000 person consulting firm that gets 60% of its revenue from government contracts to something that's more focused and smaller organization. So now I've gone from being a tiny minnow in a huge ocean to being a big fish in a puddle.
I like it. I like it.
I like it so far too.
So, gentlemen, this was, as I informed you before the show began, kind of a slow week in tech. I'm going to give you two choices right off the top. You can either talk about the new Chinese AI R1 and its amazing $6 million training cost, which is, by the way, for those who don't know, cheap. Or the new Galaxy S25 phone, which comes in coral red, blue black, or titanium jade green. That's a tough one. Maybe, Ed, we should go back to Microsoft and talk about the botched Copilot launch. You spent a little time on this on Windows Weekly. I know you wrote about this on ZDNet. You say the Microsoft 365 Copilot launch was a total disaster. What does that mean?
Well, pretty much everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Microsoft has they've been sticking AI in everything lately, and they call it Copilot. So you've got Copilot in Windows, and you've got Copilot in a lot of their enterprise security tools, and now you've got you've got Copilot in Microsoft 365, which is the for family and personal subscriptions, which is what used to be Microsoft Office, right? The subscription.
Oh, so this is not the business version. This is for people. This
is for the home people.
This is my $8 a month subscription that I have to Office.
I'm sorry, sir. The first thing they did was they jacked your price up 30 to 45%.
Oh,
with no notice. Your next bill will be up $3 a month or 30% if you're on an annual plan.
Well, technically, they did give you notice. It's up until whenever your next billing period is. So it's not like they charged you notice today. We get a week or two.
Got till the end of the month.
Okay, fair enough. But they didn't give you any notice that these features were going to be in there. So that's number one.
So I'm getting number AI, but that's good. Doesn't everybody want AI?
I don't think anybody, judging by the reading that I've done in online forums and on Reddit and on social media and in my email inbox, I can't find literally, I cannot find one single person who is happy about this. And here's the worst part. Okay. Microsoft says that, they had done a trial of this in the Southern Hemisphere starting in November. So people in Australia and New Zealand,
I remember that. Yeah.
Taiwan and all they had their prices raised, and they had the AI stuff in there already. And Microsoft says they listened to the feedback carefully, and they were going and they're giving people an opportunity to disable this feature to turn it on or off. But it's not in there. It won't be in there until next month. So so if you have Word, I think Word on the Mac, you can now. There's an enable Copilot box that is already selected, and so you can clear that checkbox and then disable it. And that's supposed to be in Windows, but I haven't seen it in any of my copies of Word for Windows. And in all the other apps, they say, well, it'll be there next month. And so you're stuck with this thing with these Copilot prompts that keep coming up, and you can't make them go away.
But so, I like AI. And I suspect that people who are like me pay for ChatGPT or Anthropic's Claude or Perplexity AI, or in my case, all three, and would prefer to use AI that way. I guess it makes sense, though, if it's integrated into Word. It's a writing assistant, right? Like Grammarly.
Well, in Word, it's a writing assistant. In PowerPoint, I asked the Copilot in PowerPoint today to create a presentation for me on the evils of AI assistance in productivity software. And it created a 30-slide presentation. It's actually pretty good.
It's expert at that.
So the thing, but the thing is, had they, I think they just did this. It reminds me of what they did with the recall feature last year, which is they didn't think about how to roll this out, right? So Microsoft hasn't raised the price of what used to be Office 365 and now is Microsoft 365. They haven't raised its price in 12 years.
No, not since I subscribed to it 12 years ago. Yeah.
Right. So
it was a good deal.
What they could have done was they could have said, hey, folks, we haven't raised the price here in over a decade. The price of everything's going up. We're going to raise your price $2 or $3 a month. It'll start, next month or the month after that with your next billing. And And I think everyone would have probably been fine with that. They would have grumbled a little bit, but they would have said, inflation and everything, this seems normal. And then they could have said, and we have these new AI features that we're going to offer to every subscriber. And here's a box, yes or no. Do I want this enabled in my software? But instead, what they did is they raised the price and they said, it's for the AI. And people say, I don't want the AI. So you raised my price and you gave me something that I didn't want.
Right. As somebody in our Discord, Trust No One, says, Copilot integration is horrible. The pricing model is ridiculous. Leave it to Microsoft to overcomplicate something that could be so simple. Kind of echoing what you just said, Ed.
And I'll add one more thing. So they did understand that that people were going to be unhappy about this. Yeah. And so they created a Microsoft 365 Classic version, which is the thing you had until yesterday at the price that you were paying until yesterday. But the only way that you can get that is to try to cancel your current subscription, at which point they say, wait, don't go away. Would you like the classic version for the old price for a limited time offer?
The discussion about inflation and kind of using that as an excuse to push through price increases, it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like if companies push through price increases, everyone pays more, costs go up, then they demand more in wages. It kind of feeds an inflationary cycle.
Right.
And this is the opposite of the role that technology played in the economy in the 1990s. Alan Greenspan, who was, I believe, head of the Federal Reserve back then, observed that there was a strange phenomenon where productivity was going up, but inflation was really low, which in turn, let them keep interest rates relatively low. Where is that tech-driven productivity gain that we're supposed to be getting? And if we're gaining productivity, shouldn't tech companies be able to hold prices stable?
Good point.
That's what makes me a little suspicious of that kind of reflexive, like, let's just raise prices. Why are tech companies not able to capture themselves the gains of technology? And part of it is that AI right now is kind of in this early investment stage where it is really expensive and maybe not as good as as it needs to be, and maybe like we'll get there on the curve, but yeah, I'm suspicious when when companies kind of push through price increases, whatever the rationale is.
Well, I like AI, and I'm surprised to hear, Ed, you say that nobody wants AI. Don't people want AI, or am I?
I will say I have read, literally thousands of comments, including in forums that are for AI, for AI Copilot
focused forums.
And I cannot find a single person saying, I like this. It's worth the extra $3 a month.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Sam. No, Sam.
I was saying to your comments, Owen, about technology improving productivity with AI. What we end up having to do most of the time is double check everything that the AI is doing. So we have to do it anyway, in addition to using the AI. And so we're not actually getting, at least for right now and probably for the foreseeable future, we're not actually, for most people, I would say, not necessarily for everybody. I think for programmers, for developers, there's probably a lot of benefits to AI, and certainly Leo, you've talked about it a lot.
I get a lot out of it.
Your
love
Lisp
AI,
GPT thing, but I think for most average people that just need to write documents, write emails, do spreadsheets, there's not actually any real productivity benefit to AI yet, and there probably won't be for quite some time, as long as we can't actually trust it to do the right thing. If we're
GitHub Copilot is very popular, right?
Yeah, but that's one example. Like I said, for developers, there's definitely some benefits there. But even there, it's a starting point. But for the average person that's using tools like Microsoft Office, I don't think that there actually is any benefit.
Not. They don't want it. And they don't want the pricing.
And
if they had done this without a price increase, would it have been more palatable?
Probably.
If they had offered it, if they had offered it as an option, if they had popped up a dialog box that said, "Here's a new feature, it's included with your suite, yes or no," and the idea though that they rolled it out and put this thing there, and it is very much in your face. If you're typing in a Word document, there's a little Copilot icon that marches down the page at every line.
It's like another Clippy, in other words.
People have made that comparison. But if you scroll to the end of my article, you'll see that I asked Copilot if it could explain the benefit of this.
This one, this here?
Yeah.
It says, if I have 84 million subscribers who pay me $10 a month and I increase their monthly fee by $3, how much extra revenue? Well, let's do the math. So you're saying it's another $252 million a month. Is that right? Okay.
Yes. So go to the bottom, those last two lines there.
So would you make an additional $3 billion a year from this fee increase? What are you planning to do with all this extra revenue? Well, actually, we know, because this stuff is really expensive. I don't know if this is even a net profit for Microsoft. Is it?
This is it's extremely I think I recall reading 50 or 60 billion dollars in capex for this year, almost all of it related to AI type stuff. And this is only now. The thing is, though, that $3 billion is from a relatively small business unit in Microsoft. The consumer version of Microsoft 365 is not where the money is.
Right.
But they've got. But the other thing I asked Copilot,
OpenAI charges $200 a month for OpenAI Pro, and they say we're still not making money on that because so many people are using it so extensively.
Right. And Microsoft charges $30 per seat.
Right.
On top of for the business, business version. But the other question that I asked Copilot at the end there was, so what happens if 10% of my subscribers cancel as a result of this? And it said, you know what, you're still going to make $1.7 billion in extra revenue. So how do you feel about that?
And let me ask you this, and all three of you can respond. Microsoft has, you mentioned recall, but it's a long history of Microsoft fumbling these PR opportunities. They're clearly not good at this. The very fact that everything's got the same name is clearly pointing to a lack of imagination. All of their Outlook is the name of all of their many different Outlook email products. Copilot is the name of their many different, very different AI things. They botched recall. They botched, you can go back to Clippy. But that's just the PR marketing side. Their technology is pretty good. Yes or no?
Do you remember when Microsoft added .NET to every product name?
Yeah.
Right.
This is like that. Is it just two different divisions and one is competent, one's incompetent?
I think it is just like a cultural problem at Microsoft where they are bad at product names in particular. Like, they're not terrible at marketing overall. Like, clearly, they're doing something right.
I think that's actually at all big companies. The bigger a company gets, the worse it gets at stuff like that. Apple is the same way. Google is terrible at that. Automakers are also terrible at it. Yeah, every big company is terrible at product naming.
There is one reason for reusing all those names, however, which is I don't know if you remember 10, 12 years ago when Microsoft had when they released their first cloud storage system, and they called it SkyDrive. And
yes, they got in trouble.
They got sued.
Yeah.
They got sued, and they had to change the name because of Rupert Murdoch's Sky Media in the UK. So they lost that one. And so in a lot of cases, the impetus to go with a name and use it across many things is because you're not going to have any legal problems. And when you're as big as Microsoft or you're as big as Google or Apple, you are a target for your target for lawsuits. And so there is some, there's some justification for that. But I found an article when I was doing some research for this one. I found an article that I wrote in 2010, and everything was called Live then. It was Windows Live, and so they
it's
stuck
just
Live
they
on
don't
the end
wanna
of everything.
risk trademark lawsuits. We own the name. Let's just call everything the same name.
When the lawyers
question.
the lawyers.
There is still a good. I mean, is the technology good? I mean, okay. Patch Tuesday last week. What was it? 169 flaws patched, more than ever since 2017. 3 days. Maybe they aren't even that good technologically.
They're a big target.
They're a big target.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked Steve Gibson this on Security Now. I said, is the problem that there's 1.5 billion Windows users? So they're going to find more flaws and fix more flaws than smaller operating systems. So Ed, you cover Microsoft. Is Microsoft, what do you think?
I think their technology has improved dramatically in the last decade. They've gotten
since Nadella.
Yeah, they've gotten their processes together. In some cases, it's boring, but boring is good. You don't want to have bad headlines.
Yeah.
And so I think Windows is actually a pretty good product these days. It looks good. It works well. It's
the most popular operating system after Android.
It's reliable, and the Office stuff. When if you can make the Copilot stuff, reach its proper place, is actually also quite good. I don't hear a lot of complaints about that aren't sort of either edge cases or just sort of the normal. When you have a small percentage of a very large number, it might seem like it's a lot of problems, but
I know
like you say, 1.5 billion people.
I know one place that extra 3 billion might be going. This week, the president, Elon Musk, Larry Ellison of Oracle, a bunch of Sam Altman of OpenAI announced a new $500 billion over 4 years project called Stargate to create an AGI. Elon subtweeted this, by the way, saying, "I know for a fact they don't have the money." To which Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said, "Well, I know I'm good for the 80 billion." Okay. I think he's referring to the 80 billion in Azure credits that they've given OpenAI, I would guess. But hey, credits count. I'm good for my 80 billion. I love that. All right. Well, I'm sorry to have to lead with such a fascinating subject. You can see it was that of the colors of the S25. So I think we've bested that anyway.
I checked. There actually are 4 additional colors than the ones you mentioned.
Oh, what other colors?
There's 3. There's 3 that are online only.
Yeah.
Which is the blue black, the coral red, and the pink gold that you mentioned. But there's 4 others that you can get in stores, which are navy, which is a darker blue, mint, which is a light green.
Those are boring.
Icy blue. There's icy blue.
No, that's boring.
And silver shadow. So, I mean, there's 7 colors. And they're arguably more vibrant colors than those you can get on an iPhone Pro.
Vibrant? Is that vibrant? Are those vibrant colors you're looking at?
Have you checked out an iPhone Pro lately?
Well, that's true. They're not exactly. So, all right. Coral red, blue black, titanium jade green. All right. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine. That's the big story is this S25 announcement. The problem was everybody already knew even the color names weeks ago because for some reason Samsung managed to get everything.
And they did spend a lot of time talking about Galaxy AI, in
Oh, yeah.
that event
Oh, yeah.
this week. But most of that is integration with Google Gemini, as far as I can tell.
Right.
So I don't know.
The AI world is pretty incestuous, which is why this DeepSeek R1 was so interesting, because this is an AI that came out of China. They claim it was developed for very little money and is doing reasoning that seems to be as good as O1, the premier AI from OpenAI. So that's why that was the other story we could
it does make me wonder. The Biden administration had been really tightening the screws on China's AI sector by limiting its access to NVIDIA chips and other chip technology. Is that just forcing China's AI sector to get smarter than us, essentially?
That's exactly the point from a Wired's article about this from Jay Yi Yang, who says, let's see, DeepSeek's success points to an unintended outcome of the tech Cold War between the U.S. and China. U.S. export controls, as you pointed out, have severely curtailed the ability of Chinese tech firms to compete on AI in the Western way, that is, by infinitely scaling up, buying more chips, training for a longer period of time. As a result, most Chinese companies have focused on downstream applications rather than building their own models. DeepSeek apparently uses Meta's Llama model, which is I'm going to put this in air quotes, open model. It's not open source. It's just other people can use it, which is kind of what that means, even though they're calling it open source. DeepSeek has proven there's another way to win by revamping the foundational structure of AI models and using limited resources more efficiently. They did buy 10,000 NVIDIA chips to do this. It's funded by a hedge fund billionaire. He made a lot of money and decided that he wanted to start DeepSeek. It started as something called Fireflyer, a deep learning research branch of Highflyer, which is the hedge fund I mentioned. I think it's an interesting story, and people who've used DeepSeek say it's great unless you ask it about Tiananmen Square, because it is Chinese. It just shows that there is a lot of creativity, I think, in the AI sphere, and that there is no one way to solve this problem. It's very interesting. Liang, the founder, told a Chinese tech publication, the decision was driven by scientific curiosity rather than a desire to turn a profit. I wouldn't be able to find a commercial reason for DeepSeek even if you ask me to. It's not worth it commercially. Must be nice to have so much money you could say, you know what we should do? We should spend it on NVIDIA cards. Basic science research has very low return on investment ratio, Liang said. When OpenAI early investors gave it money, they sure weren't thinking about how much return they would get. Rather, it was that they really wanted to do this thing. It's actually very cool that they've succeeded, although it does put into doubt the U.S.'s policy to keep these chips out of Chinese hands.
Well, I mean, even if you were able to keep the Chinese from buying NVIDIA processors, one thing that we're increasingly starting to see is use of other types of processors. The NVIDIA processors are great at essentially brute forcing the problem,
right?
But they're not actually that highly optimized for doing the very specific types of calculations. They do have, like the Blackwell processor and others, the previous generations have tensor cores in them that are very optimized for this. But increasingly, as you get into these LLMs, what you need is something even more highly optimized for doing matrix math. And if you can get to that, and that's, we're seeing increasing development of these matrix math optimized processors are way more efficient at doing the kinds of calculations you need to do AI with much less power consumption. And
Sam Altman has to freak out
though
when he sees this, because he's the one who's raised all this money. He's the one of the people spearheading Stargate. looking to spend $500 billion. These guys don't have anywhere near the resources, and they don't have access to the hardware. Wired writes, DeepSeek has also made significant progress on something called multi-head latent attention, MLA, and mixture of experts, two technical designs that make DeepSeek models more cost-effective, requiring fewer computing resources to train. In fact, according to the research institution Epic AI, DeepSeek's latest model required 1/10 the computing power of Meta's comparable Llama 3.1 to train. So there, sometimes that's true, isn't it, in the world? When you have constraints, you're forced to get creative and maybe even do a better job. It's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, that's where all the best engineering comes from, is having constraints.
I thought that was an interesting and odd remark, that the quote that you read about the guy saying, basic research doesn't have a return on investment. I mean, that might literally be true, because by definition, basic research isn't designed to turn into a product. But I think some of the most important products of our lifetime and, the last couple of generations have been sort of, have come out of accidental discoveries from basic research.
Sure.
Right.
You bet.
Semiconductors and such. So, there's a strong case to be made for funding basic research, both at the government level and by private capital, because that that somebody's going to get lucky and find something amazing that nobody thought of.
And of course,
if you can
go ahead, Sam.
If you can let somebody else do that funding of the basic research, and then when they find something, then take that and create the applications, which is what it looks like DeepSeek is doing here to commercialize it. If you can continue to rely on somebody else to do that basic research and give you those foundational layers that you can then build on to build technology applications, why wouldn't you do it? Especially at this point in time, and then, as you grow and start to generate some revenue and some profits, then maybe you start doing some of your own basic research. But
excuse me if I'm a little cynical, but I mean, this is a guy operating out of communist China. Mm-hmm. And it is definitely in the Chinese government's interest to show that it can still compete, even with the sanctions placed on it by the United States. So I imagine, even if he's not getting any concrete remuneration for his research efforts,
there's probably support.
There's a little bit of support and encouragement, and even maybe a medal in it for him. Who knows? I don't know. But it's also good if, again, we have to somewhat put some faith in what they're saying, and they could be making this. We don't know really. And as always with AI, you don't really know what's going on. So there's a certain amount of trust here. But Wired quotes a professor of at the University of Technology, Sydney, Marina Zhang, who studies Chinese innovations. She says, unlike many Chinese AI firms that rely heavily on access to advanced hardware, DeepSeek is focused on maximizing software-driven resource optimization. They've embraced open source methods, pooling collective expertise, and fostering collaborative innovation. This approach not only mitigates resource constraints, but accelerates the development of cutting-edge technologies. So bravo. I mean, right? We should all be in favor of that. That's a good thing. By the way, they are releasing this model and giving it away for free. So they are putting their mouth where their money is. That doesn't make a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? They're giving it away.
Money where their mouth is.
But they didn't. Yeah, well, they're putting their robot where the AI. I don't know. We'll have to come up with something for this era. The AI era. We'll
ask ChatGPT to work on.
Would you? Yeah, that's good. See, this is exactly the kind of thing I think ChatGPT would be very good at. We're going to take a little break. We have lots more to talk about. I think AI. We got some more AI stuff. We should talk about Stargate a little bit. Owen's brought some San Francisco news along from the San Francisco Business Times. Good on you. Including an interview with Julia parts. A Web 2.0 legend still around. We got more to come. You stay right here. You're watching This Week in Tech with my buddy Ed Bott, who I've known since, Comdex days, I think. Long time.
It's been
Used to come
more
on with
years
me and-
than either one of us wants
I know.
to.
Used to come on with me and Dvorak on computers
Yeah.
back in the 90s.
Saturday mornings, right? Or
Yeah.
Sunday mornings.
Sunday mornings, yeah.
Sunday mornings.
Yeah. A lot of fun. I've known Owen Thomas for some time, too. Come to think of it, managing editor of the San Francisco Business Times. It's always great to see you, Owen.
I have one Comdex flashback. It involves Bill Gates and Third Eye Blind, and
I remember that.
the memories are blurry beyond that. You might have been at that exact party.
I think I was. I remember the white man's overbite, or as we now call it, the bite dance. Bill is, I think I danced like 5 feet away from Bill Gates for a while at Comdex, one of Dvorak's famous parties. It's great to have you, Owen. And of course, my buddy, the car guy, Sam Abul Samad, now at telemetryagency.com. Hire them. And also his great podcast, wheelbearings.media. We were talking about Robbie on Wednesday. Because I asked, why does Sonoma County, why does my little town, have so many cover bands? And Benito reminded me that Robbie has like 7 cover bands.
Yeah, Robbie's in half of them, I think. he's got a Daft Punk band, a Talking Heads band, a Devo band, a Beck cover band. I can't remember the others now.
I think
there's at least 6
Beastie Boys band. Yeah.
Yes, I think he does a Beastie Boys one. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
all right, I want to talk cars with you, Sam, because there's a lot going on, including maybe a little trouble in paradise with Adolf Hitler, as they call him. We're going to take it's nothing funny about that, and we're going to take a break and talk about it in just a bit. You're watching This Week in Tech. Our show today brought to you by, I'm very happy to say, Oracle. Even if you think AI might be a little bit overhyped, it really is suddenly everywhere, from self-driving cars to molecular medicine and, yes, to business efficiency. In fact, if it's not in your industry yet, it's coming fast. But AI needs a lot of speed, a lot of computing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? Time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a blazing fast and secure platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, plus all your AI and machine learning workloads. But here's the great thing. OCI costs 50% less for compute and 80% less for networking. So you're saving a pile of money. Thousands of businesses have already upgraded to OCI, including Vodafone, Thomson Reuters, Suno AI. Right now, Oracle is offering to cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to OCI for new U.S. customers with minimum financial commitment. The offer ends March 31st. See if your company qualifies for this special offer. Oracle.com/twit. That's Oracle.com/twit. You support us when you use that address, so please do. Oracle.com/twit. Are Tesla sales falling off, Sam?
Yeah, they were, let's see, overall globally, I think they were down by about 4 or 5% last year, and they were up by about 6.7% in the US, despite adding sales of the Cybertruck. So even with the Cybertruck, which only sold about 35,000 units last year.
Half of them to Petaluma. I see them all over our little town.
Yeah.
It is wild. My neighbors just bought one.
Oh, sounds like it's time to move.
They're not the most attractive vehicles.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Is it because of Elon's association with the new administration, or
that is a big part of it? I personally know a number of people that have sold their Teslas in the last year and a half.
It's political.
Yeah, particularly since he bought Twitter. But especially in the last year, people don't want to be associated with them, and even people that are keeping their cars because they can't necessarily afford to get rid of them. They may have a car loan that they're paying off. And
they get the bumper sticker that says, "I bought this."
Yeah, no Elon, or I bought this before I knew Elon was a jerk, or or other words. And so there's a lot of people that are kind of stuck with them for now. And I mean that's fair. I I know, if I was $10,000 underwater on a car loan, I probably wouldn't be selling it to buy something else right now either.
Yeah.
So it's, it's a challenge, and there's a lot of people who like the idea of electric cars, and there are good reasons to have a Tesla if you want an EV because of the charging infrastructure, but they do not want to be associated with this guy because of what he is doing outside of the company, and they don't want to be financially supporting him.
We don't know for a fact that it's because of the politics. It could very well be that there are just many more competing vehicles.
And that's why I say it. The politics is just is one part of it. But there's also the fact that their lineup, their products are getting older. They haven't really fundamentally changed.
I have to say it's a testament to the original design, though, that they don't look out of date. They don't look old fashioned.
True, but even with that, it's pretty rare that that automakers don't make more regular changes. People don't want to necessarily be, especially those that are buying new cars, don't necessarily want to be driving the same thing that they bought 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So even cars that have a very evolutionary design process, like say the Porsche 911. A Porsche 911, you look at one today, you look at one from the 1960s. Yeah, it's a very different car, but you can see the DNA there. Yeah, and
Mustang too.
That's not necessarily in the case of Teslas, it's much more. There's much less change that's visible. There's actually a lot of strangely enough, there's actually a lot of change under the skin, right, that people are not aware of. But
I think people maybe who buy Teslas are more aware of that. Teslas still have a technological lead, don't they, in efficiency?
Not necessarily. No, I think if you're looking at efficiency, Lucid is absolutely the best.
They're
in terms
amazing.
Of efficiency. Yeah. And a lot of other automakers, are in the same ballpark as Tesla in terms of efficiency, in terms of charging speeds. So that's the other thing. There's a lot more competition now. There's a lot more EVs in the marketplace today than there were 5-7 years ago. And I was just going through the sales numbers this week, and except for the Volkswagen ID4 and some Mercedes EV models, pretty much every other EV model on the market in the US, their sales have gone up last year. Tesla went down, VW and Mercedes went down. Everybody else was up.
Interesting.
And Tesla's share of the EV market in the US has dropped steadily over the last 5 years. In 2020, they were about 80% of all EV sales. In 2023, they were at 55%. Last year, they were down to 47% of EV sales.
And for years, Tesla made a lot of money selling a sort of tax credit to other car companies because they, Tesla basically had more credits than it knew what to do with, and these other companies weren't selling enough EVs, and it kind of made for a nice trade for.
Well, and good on Elon. I mean, you could say that he jump-started the EV market, though.
And of course, now what he wants to do is have his buddy Trump take away.
This is puzzling to me.
Well, no, it makes perfect sense if you think about it. He's still got 47% of the market. Take away the subsidies for all the other smaller players, which, by the way, Tesla no longer qualifies for because it's gotten too big. So
no, they do.
Oh, they still qualify. I think
when they did the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022 and revamped the tax credit scheme, Tesla was again at least the vehicles that have U.S. built batteries and are assembled.
Got it.
Were qualified again.
Yeah, there was a period when Tesla kind of maxed out on the credits, but simply because of its scale, Tesla is going to benefit if you take away subsidies. Tesla is probably going to be in a better financial position car by car than anyone who's manufacturing at smaller scale.
Is that? I mean, it does seem as if Elon, who has the president's ear, must have argued against removing the EV subsidies, or no?
No.
What do you think?
It doesn't appear to be the case.
Yeah.
It doesn't appear that he has done.
Yeah, why
that.
not? What, doesn't that hurt him?
I think he feels like he's going to continue selling Teslas anyway, with or without the subsidies. That customers are going to continue buying them. And
so Owen's essential point is that it hurts other people more than it hurts Tesla.
Yeah, because Tesla, because they build so many EVs, they do have the economies of scale on the EV side, and the way that they've designed their cars, they've managed to take a lot of cost out of them. Yeah. And so that it appears that they can they can sell their EVs profitably, whereas others can't. And without the tax credits, then other manufacturers that have a harder time selling their EVs, and would then potentially have to go to Tesla to buy those ZEV credits, the zero emission vehicle credits. But the other part of this is that what Trump also wants to do is he wants to roll back the emissions and fuel economy standards, which are part of and eliminate California's waiver to set their own standards.
He calls it the elimination of unfair subsidies and other ill-conceived government-imposed market distortions that favor EVs.
Right, and then if they do that, if they succeed in doing that, then other manufacturers won't have to sell as many EVs to meet the requirements that they want to roll it back to, and then they wouldn't have to buy credits from Tesla. So Tesla still gets hurt. So it doesn't make sense why Musk would want to roll back those standards.
Or maybe he doesn't have as much clout as we assumed.
That's certainly a possibility.
In fact, it looks like Doge, which was initially the Department of Governmental Efficiency with the meme name, was going to be slashing federal bureaucracies. And now it looks like it's been absorbed. It's actually, they took the U.S. Digital Services, which our friend Matt Cutts had started, and or it was part of, and have renamed it Doge. So now what was going to be something a little bit more drastic is really boiled down to, well, it's going to help improve digital infrastructure in the U.S. government. That sounds like a demotion. Vivek Ramaswamy has left to run for governor of Ohio.
Has left is an interesting way to put it.
Was he fired?
It certainly sounds like he was pushed out.
Well, he didn't get what he didn't like the direction Doge was going.
Well, Elon never likes to have anybody that's on the same level as him.
I was shocked that they created a co-chairmanip.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that it was the government efficiency department had
a government efficiency department.
It was already a problem.
It was pretty much inevitable that Elon was going to find
one
a
of
way
them
to
was going to go. Yeah,
just as he has with anybody else that threatened his position at any of his companies.
But Doge does seem to be somewhat reduced. So I'm just wondering, maybe Elon just doesn't have the clout he thought he had. I mean,
he's busy gaming.
Yeah.
That's a hysterical
he's the number
story.
one, I forget which game it was, number one player in the world.
He's admitted essentially that he farmed all of his equipment and gear. And that when he plays, the real players are going, he's an idiot. He just walked by. It's a very important drop and ignored it.
Wasn't Grimes tweeting about how the father of her children was
she did a little hostage tweet. Yeah. It did. It had that very much that hostage flair to it. You want me to read it? It was actually pretty funny. Let's see if I can find it. Then we will talk a little bit about Twitter, because Twitter also in the news. Come to think of it, maybe a few things did happen. Grimes Elon tweet. It had a very. Let's see.
Well, she's been embroiled in a custody thing with Elon for a while now.
Yeah.
Over at least a couple of the three kids that they had together.
Yeah.
Only one of which she actually gave birth to. The other two are with surrogates.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, she apparently she had some major medical issues during birth of the first one. And
You must be reading People magazine. I missed that one.
And apparently the kid who has a long unpronounceable name but goes by X. Has been at Elon's side, like in Mar-a-Lago. It just strikes me like he's got 11 plus kids.
There's at least 12 that we know of. And probably more.
Like, is there a website? How many kids does Elon Musk have?
No, but that's a good idea for a site. Maybe we want to register.
Or should I just ask ChatGPT?
Yeah. So Grimes tweeted, "Just for my personal pride, I would like to state that the father of my children was the first American druid in Diablo to clear abattoir of Zir and ended that season as the best in the USA. He was also ranking in Polytopia and beat Felix himself at the game." This is the hostage statement. "I did observe these things with my own eyes. There are other witnesses who could verify this. That is all. Now, please give me custody of my children." No, I left that. I added that at the end.
So wait, Leo, you don't actually follow Grimes? I'm disappointed.
I don't. You're right. You caught me out. I do not follow Grimes. I do follow Elon. So Elon is denying now that he said this, but I did see it in the Wall Street Journal that X is, he sent out an email to employees, and you can deny it all you want, but it's kind of hard once you send out an email. The Wall Street Journal reported that X is barely breaking even, struggling, to which a number of banks have responded by saying, yeah, we're going to try to get out of as much of this. They're preparing to sell billions of dollars of their loans they're hoping 90 to 95 cents on the dollar, which actually, if they get out at that price, they did pretty well. I think,
especially considering the interest rates. They issued those loans right before rates started soaring. Great timing for Elon. But terrible for the banks. I don't know the exact math, but I would be surprised if they got 90 cents on the dollar based on the differential in prevailing rates right now.
Yeah,
but those loans are all those are personally guaranteed, aren't they?
Oh, that's
they're guaranteed with. He put up his Tesla stock. That's right. Or Tesla and SpaceX shares.
So those are very, very safe investments. If you whatever price you can get for those, you're going to get your money.
That's true. That's a good point. 13 billion of the 44 billion Elon.
Yeah, but you could just buy T-bills. Is my point. And get a better.
Banks have to diversify, right? The lenders include Mitsubishi, BNP, Societe Generale. There are a few sovereign wealth funds, I believe, involved in all of this. The email said, over the past few months, we've witnessed the power of X in shaping national conversations and outcome, which I would argue makes X pretty valuable, right? We're also seeing other platforms begin to adopt our commitment to, and I'm going to put this in air quotes, free speech and unbiased truth. Okay. He apparently is referring to Meta rolling back its fact checking. So even if you lose money, you've got that bully pulpit that's hugely valuable to Elon personally anyway. B, the banks aren't going to really, they've got it. It's backed by, what happens if Tesla stock tanks, Sam? That means that their collateral's worth a lot less.
Right.
Is there any chance of that happening?
Right now, given who's in power in Washington right now, probably not.
Probably not.
But if he,
by the way, Elon denies this email, which is bizarre. I don't know.
If Trump had lost, it would probably be a different situation. But if Tesla shares were to drop, because he used the shares as collateral, then he would they could call in the loans. He would potentially have to liquidate, and that could have forced a downward spiral of Tesla shares. But
Didn't happen,
what has
though.
happened is since the election, the value of Tesla has skyrocketed, and Elon's personal share of Tesla has gone up by something like $100 or $150 billion since
Did he
November.
get his $56 billion in annual pay? He did
No,
not.
the judge in Delaware declared that vote was still invalid. He still does not get that money.
Okay. Yeah, the shareholders, the judge ruled he couldn't have it. Shareholders at the shareholders meeting said, no, he deserves it. So the judge came back and said, no, he doesn't. Those chancery judges are tough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he reincorporated the company in Texas.
Much better place.
Yeah.
Elon responded to the Wall Street Journal with this tweet. And this is why Twitter is valuable to him, or X is valuable to him. The report is false. I sent no such email. Wall Street Journal is lying. And then, of course, immediately his fans say, why do these legacy media keep lying? I was excited about the fact that X is breaking even. Huh?
Why would you care? I mean, if you're not a shareholder, why would you care if it's breaking even?
Yeah. By the way, I've been informed, I did not know this, that the dance Elon's doing here is the X. He's making the X of X. I thought he was just kind of a nerd.
Well, those two are not mutually exclusive.
Not mutually exclusive.
What is the obsession with X? It's so weird. It's just
so he owned the domain for
X.com.
a long time.
Yeah.
And single letter domains were very rare.
He bought it in the PayPal era, I believe. Right?
No,
Pre-PayPal.
Yeah. X.com was his company that merged with the other company to form PayPal.
I have an X.com debit card in my archive of fintech paraphernalia.
Nice.
So sometime in the 2010s, I think 2015 or so, he actually bought the X.com domain back from PayPal. Which had owned it since the merger.
And he wanted to turn PayPal into
the everything company.
Everything site and give it the name X. And so he has Twitter, and I haven't heard much about his plans to turn Twitter into a bank and everything. But ultimately every Silicon Valley company wants to become a bank.
That's funny because Goldman Sachs, which got the coveted Apple card, is desperate to get out of consumer because they've lost billions of dollars on it. So maybe you shouldn't want to be a bank. Maybe it's not such a good thing.
Well, they lost billions because they did a bad deal with Apple. And
I want to. How do you lose $1 billion on a credit card? I mean, I know how I would, but how does a bank do that? Isn't it just a license to make money?
Normally, yeah.
I guess printing all those titanium cards cost a lot of money.
Also Goldman made a lot of rookie mistakes. You heard about incidents where, say someone would get a card and then their spouse would be denied an Apple card, which just speaks to like questionable underwriting.
Alexis Ohanian, wasn't it Alexis? Who was it that said, I could get the card, but my wife couldn't? Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, here's a riddle for you. It's almost as big as Manhattan. And Mark Zuckerberg is building it right now. Whatever could it be? Is it his new yacht? Stay tuned. You're watching This Week in Tech. Owen Thomas is here, San Francisco Business Times. Great to have you. My old friend, Ed Bott, also here. Many a magazine. He's now senior contributing editor at ZDNet. Does that mean you just kind of file whenever you feel like it? Is that what that means?
That's probably a pretty accurate job description.
Yeah, hey, I got an idea. I'm going to take the week off. How about that? Also, Sam Abul-Samad, my car guy, telemetryagency.com. Our show this week brought to you by Zscaler. the leader in cloud security. I know we've all heard a lot about the word zero trust. Well, Zscaler's a remarkable way to implement it. Enterprises have spent so much time, so much money building perimeter defenses, firewalls, and then, of course, VPNs so that employees can still get to the assets they need to access. Has that protected us? No. Breaches continue to rise like crazy. There was an 18% year-over-year increase in ransomware attacks last year, and a record $75 million payout. This is crazy. Traditional security tools like firewalls expand your attack surface with public-facing IPs that are exploited by bad actors. And now the bad guys are using AI to create new exploits faster and easier than ever. It's really bad out there. Plus, then of course you're using a VPN, but you struggle to inspect the outbound encrypted traffic at scale. So once the bad guys get in, they can exfiltrate your data with impunity. Oh, there's one more thing. This perimeter defense solution with the VPN to get in enables its lateral movement. It connects users to the entire network. Once they're inside, the network just assumes, oh, they're legit. So the bad guy can go anywhere, can exfiltrate all that data via encrypted traffic that you can't even see. Hackers exploit traditional security infrastructure using AI to outpace your defenses. Now it's time to rethink your security. We cannot let the bad actors win. They're innovating and exploiting your defenses faster than you are. Unless you use Zscaler Zero Trust Plus AI. It stops attackers by hiding your attack surface, which makes your apps and IPs invisible to the bad guys. That's a great start, but then it also eliminates lateral movement. Just because a user's in the network doesn't mean they get access to everything. Zscaler connects users only to specific apps, not the entire network, and it continuously verifies every request based on identity and context. Simplifying security management with AI-powered automation. You got to do it because Zscaler is analyzing over 500 billion daily transactions, 500 billion every day, using AI to find that needle in that giant haystack that tells you this is a threat. This is a threat. This is how they're getting in. Hackers can't attack what they can't see. Protect your organization with Zscaler Zero Trust and AI. Learn more at zscaler.com/security. Zscaler.com/security. We thank them so much for supporting This Week in Tech. Zscaler.com/security. So what is this giant thing? Here's a picture of it superimposed over the island of Manhattan. That, my friends, is a data center. The Richland Parish Data Center. Marc put this picture up on Facebook saying this will be a defining year for AI. In 2025, I expect Meta AI will be the leading assistant serving more than 1 billion people. Llama 4 will become the leading state-of-the-art model and will build, this is the scary one, we will build an AI engineer, and we will build an AI engineer. We have the technology that will start contributing increasing amounts of code to an R&D efforts. To power this, Meta's building a 2 gigawatt plus data center so large it would cover a significant portion of Manhattan. We'll bring online 1 gigawatt of compute in 2025 and end the year with more.
Has anyone told Marc that you can build buildings higher, like you can have multiple stories?
Yeah.
Like
where is this Richland Park? Where is this?
Well, there's a Richland in eastern Washington.
Oh, that makes sense. That's where you'd want it because you get
lots of hydro
power.
Lots of hydro power.
Yeah. They're gonna. He says we're gonna end the year with more than 1.3 million GPUs.
This one's in Louisiana, which makes sense.
It's a parish, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Planning to invest 60 to 65 billion in CapEx this year. We're also growing our AI team. What happened to the metaverse? Wait a minute. Hold on, Marc.
Well, it didn't have legs, Leo.
Oh, that's. Ooh, I like it. It didn't.
So you haven't heard about the plan to rename rename Meta Facebook with an I. FAI.
Facebook.
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 No, okay. That, I got that one from ChatGPT. That's no good. I'm gonna tell it to go back, tweak my prompts, work a little harder.
Of course, all these data centers is probably part of the reason why Trump has this executive order to open up drilling everywhere, to drill for more oil and gas, because he wants it to power all these data centers, because these things are consuming huge amounts of power. Notice in this post, he doesn't talk about how much it can actually compute. He talks about gigawatts. This is the amount of power it's going to consume.
That's power. It's 4 million square feet. Yeah, it doesn't say what kind of computing capability.
Over 2 gigawatts of power. Well, he's got 1.3 million GPUs, but 2 gigawatts of power is an enormous amount of power. Because if it wasn't for these AI data centers, we actually don't need to do any more oil and gas drilling or coal drilling. We already produce way more oil and gas than we need. The U.S. is now the world's number one exporter of oil and gas. We export more than Saudi Arabia does.
That was under Biden, by the way, that happened.
Yeah, and so we don't need to be producing more. And in fact, if we did produce more, it actually
price would go down.
Well, except it wouldn't, because the thing is, because we're not consuming it right now. People are not consuming the oil and gas.
Yeah.
If the price does go down, right now oil is about $75-$80 a barrel, and almost all of the oil and gas we produce now comes from fracking. And the cost of producing oil and gas from fracking is somewhere in the $60 to $65 a barrel range. So if oil prices actually dropped below that range, what happens is they just stop producing. They stop drilling more. That's what happened back in the mid 2010s when we had oil prices that were over $100 a barrel. We started doing all this fracking, and all of a sudden oil
because
prices
it was economical to do
to $40 a barrel, and all those fracking operations came to a grinding halt.
Something analogous is happening in California. Our local utility says that because we're conserving so much, the price of electricity has to go up.
Yeah.
And they've had 6 rate increases in the last year, not because we're using more power, but because we're using less.
Yeah, they need to recover their investment in the infrastructure, in the power plants and the infrastructure.
So
if we produce more, what's going to end up happening is if it doesn't get consumed somewhere, then you reach that equilibrium point where if the price drops, they just stop producing more. So you're not actually going to be seeing any reduction in price for consumers.
Right. So to support this Meta data center, Entergy, which is probably a ChatGPT created name, the Louisiana energy company Entergy.
Entergy's been around for a long time.
Yeah, will produce 3 combined cycle combustion turbines, each with a combined capacity, total combined capacity of 2.2 thousand megawatts, 2 of which in Richland Parish. They're going to build 2 new substations, 6 customer substations, install 100 miles of 500 kilovolt transmission lines, 8 new 230 kilovolt transmission lines. This is, yes. To power a gigawatt data center, I'm surprised they're not building a pocket nuke.
By the way, combined cycle turbines are natural gas fueled. They're a more efficient way of extracting energy from natural gas.
And that's fairly clean, right?
Nancy Pelosi infamously once characterized natural gas as a green energy. It's still carbon.
And if it escapes into the atmosphere, it's not good.
Yeah.
And it still generates CO2. Period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although the CO2 is less greenhouse intensive than methane.
Methane.
So if you're
really
fracking and releasing methane into the atmosphere, that's about 10 to 20 times more intensive than CO2.
So
these new generators,
you rather have to burn it than
are 30% hydrogen, which is absolutely better, right? And they want to transition to 100% hydrogen.
Well, again, except that most of that hydrogen is being created by cracking natural gas,
fossil fuels. Okay,
so unless they're using solar,
Right.
or wind to produce the hydrogen from water, from
Well,
seawater.
they are putting in 1,500 megawatts of solar resources. I mean, it's got to do a lot to get 3 gigawatts. Of,
What's amazing is Texas, for example. I believe I saw a pie chart. It's getting nearly a third of its energy needs from wind and solar, which Trump has said he wants to abandon. It just makes no sense, except that I guess Trump felt that some wind turbines in Scotland were messing up the views from his golf course.
Well, so this is what I don't understand. You're basically, he's basically implementing policies that are going to hurt the oil industry in the long run. Is that right, Sam? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Well, I don't think he actually understands.
No, I understand, but they understand. And why aren't they standing up and saying, "Hey, Mr. President, this is not what you want to do"?
So Leo, climate change is a hoax, and we need to annex Greenland at the same time.
I understand all of that.
So
I feel like
it's not that it's actually not going to benefit the oil and gas industry.
Oh, they still make money?
Yeah, because if they produce more, they'll find markets for it, and AI data centers are a prime market for it. Burning that oil and gas to power data centers, that's a market for them. What I was saying is that consumers are not going to benefit from lower gas prices at the pump. We will never see lower gas prices than about $3 a gallon.
So, Ed, when you talk about Microsoft making an extra $3 billion on Copilot, that's a drop in the bucket.
Like I said, that's a tiny little division there. They need to get an order or two of magnitude more.
Yeah.
They have to force everybody to use Copilot for everything they do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they lose.
So Tesla owners are not the only people a little mad at Elon. There are at least 100 subreddits that are considering banning all links to X on the subreddits. And I don't know if you use Reddit, but if you use Reddit, it's all over Reddit. No more links to X. Not that many of them have had links. Some of this because of his questionable gesture at the president's inaugural rally. I
don't think there's any question about what that gesture was.
Well, one way or the other, the subreddits seem to think so. This New Jersey subreddit, London, Ontario, the 49ers. I know my team subreddit. It's not run by the 49ers, run by individuals. /r/Christianity banned Twitter links with a GIF in which Musk's salute was put side by side with neo-Nazis. r/NFL, hockey, baseball, and NBA all considering a ban. Comic book movies. Oh no. Made me smile. It's interesting. It's funny how what I'm just saying, where's the backlash on some of this stuff? And I guess that's maybe on Reddit. Maybe that's where the backlash is. What's going to happen to TikTok?
Do any of us care?
I yes, I'm in favor. I'm in favor of TikTok. I'm a TikTok guy. I like TikTok. My son made his career out of on TikTok. He's managed to move on, thank God. TikTok's still around, but you can't get the app anymore from the Google Play Store or the iOS Store, which, by the way, has created a fairly brisk, I think, market for iPhones with TikTok still installed on eBay. Here's a $2,000 or best offer, $1,800, $3,000. Here's one. I don't know if this is going to sell for $12,481 with TikTok installed, because you can't, if you bought a new iPhone today, you wouldn't have TikTok on it. You couldn't install it. 10,000, 40,000.
That iPhone, and it's an iPhone 12 too, so it's a classic.
This is worth more because it has TikTok and CapCut. I somehow think that this is just a publicity stunt because nobody obviously is going to pay $40,000 for it. But
there was apparently
check the sold listings.
Apparently. This apparently happened 15 years ago or so with Flappy Bird. Was
yes,
it?
when he pulled Flappy Bird back. Yeah. How do I make this sold only?
It's on the left somewhere. It's one of those
checkbox on the lower left.
Checkbox here, sold. Lock status, price.
Sold and completed items only.
Okay.
On the lower left.
Show only.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, thank you. I'm an old man and I don't understand how the internet works. Here's one that sold for $67. $800. Okay. 120. Yeah, they're not going for 40,000, but they're going $500 for a 14 with TikTok. 560 for a 15 Pro Max with TikTok.
But that's about what that phone should cost anyway, right?
Right. So whether it has TikTok.
Yeah, this is basically an easy way to, I wanted to sell this phone anyway. Now I can sell it quickly.
That's hysterical. It ended $685. He got it. Well, I have a few phones with TikTok installed.
Make yourself rich.
Spare a few of those. Yeah.
I've read that. I've read that the most likely outcome for this is that Oracle is going to wind up, managing the business in the United States.
But they already were kind of hosting the data with Project Texas. But I guess maybe that gives them an inside track.
And this was a dumb move from day one. And a terrible precedent to set, and the fact that it got this far, and then that the courts upheld it and said, this doesn't have anything to do with the First Amendment, is kind of crazy. And the best thing that could probably happen is for some sort of kabuki theater to happen, where ByteDance is pulling the strings from halfway across the world, but there are American overseers who can reassure the members of Congress who voted for this that everything is okay now, and then they can just stop thinking about it.
Yeah, which is really what they would like to do at this point. Somebody in our chat room is suggesting maybe Microsoft should just rename Teams to Microsoft TikTok.
With Copilot.
With plus Copilot. Thank you, Surge Strip. That's a good one.
I mean, Meta is already like weaving AI into Facebook, such that I think pretty soon it's going to be suggesting what to post.
Yeah. And writing your posts for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Which just
they already have bots that are posting stuff. They have.
Which they said, that was a mistake. That was an accident, an early test. We've gotten rid of those.
That is Meta's MO, isn't it? Just do stuff. When you get caught, say, "Oh, that was a mistake," and then move on. Is that called moving fast and breaking things? I think it is. David Sachs, who is our new AI and crypto czar. He is, of course, one of the PayPal mafia, friend of Elon's, a South African like Elon, who is now a fairly important role. I guess a czar is important in the government. Yes?
I think that's Roelof Botha you're thinking of, who's a South African.
So is Sachs.
Sachs is South African too, yeah.
Yeah. He was
they
born
all
in South
are.
Africa.
It's a little weird.
Teal was not born in South Africa, but he grew up there. His parents...
Yeah.
His dad
that's so weird.
Was running a uranium mine in what is now Namibia when he was 5 years old.
Anyway, whether he's South African or not, he has decided that NFTs and meme coins are not securities. This was, of course, one of the reasons the crypto industry supported the new administration. They didn't like this idea that Gensler had of calling them securities. They're collectibles. Actually, that's true. Until they do a rug pull.
Yeah.
But they are, that's the idea. They're collectibles. Now, I don't know. His word has no force of law, but he does presumably advise the president. So maybe we'll see an executive order saying they're just collectibles.
There's a really funny thing about that distinction, though. Obviously, they don't want them to be called securities because they don't want them to be regulated by the SEC and other organizations. But if you look at tax laws and the capital gains taxes in the United States, the long-term capital gains rates for collectibles are much higher than they are for securities.
Oh, that's not good.
If you sell, oh yeah, it's really bad. So this is, he is arguing to get rid of this frying pan and replace it with this huge,
this fire,
this huge gigawatt fueled furnace.
Whoa! The capital gains tax on collectibles is higher than it is for, say, a stock.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, we have to fix that. I'm going to keep my Bored Apes just a little bit longer. I had no idea. Actually, this is the funny thing. Of course, the crypto industry really supported not only the Trump election, but also the election of 135 new members of Congress who are pro-crypto and celebrated a real victory. In fact, they had the crypto inaugural ball that Snoop Dogg performed at. They've really felt like this is good, and in many ways, Trump's announcement that that the U.S. is probably going to have a Fort Knox of Bitcoin, which is great for anybody who's currently holding Bitcoin, right? Yeah, just don't lose the password. I know from personal experience, but the other thing that the crypto industry is a little bit shaken by is the day before he got inaugurated, Trump created a meme coin. So did Melania. And the New York Times says Trump's crypto venture divides the industry he aims to support.
That's shock.
There they are coming into the crypto ball. They look like crypto bros, don't they? Look like they got the crypto money. The Make Bitcoin Great Again baseball caps were the and Snoop Dogg offered a rendition of Journey's Don't Stop Believin'. And whatever you do, keep buying the Bitcoin. It was during the party that he announced that he was going to launch Trump meme coin. And crypto executives said, just where we were getting credibility, right? And we're trying to, enter the mainstream. His venture, they said, created this is the New York Times, a brief and highly publicized bubble that partly deflated within a few days, even as Trump's family and its business partners collected millions of dollars from fees on the purchases and sales of the coin. Nick Carter, who is a vocal supporter of Mr. Trump, runs the crypto investment firm Castle Island Ventures, says it makes it all look corrupt and self-interested. Really? Oh, no.
Welcome to the perpetual grift.
An analysis by the crypto forensics company Chainalysis showed the majority of people who bought Trump were likely inexperienced retail investors, possibly even dabbling in crypto for the first time. I think some of them were members of my family, actually. Not my immediate family, thank you. These traders, according to the analysis, roughly broke even. More than 100,000 of them lost money. Meanwhile, the launch of Trump generated $58 million in fees for the Trump family in less than a day. $58 million. Oh, and let's not forget, they own on paper $23 billion worth of Trump at its $29 price, which is already a 60% drop from the peak. Now,
I mean, this is the Franklin Mint, but without all that messy physical stuff that has to be done.
You don't actually have to stamp out coins.
You have to do anything. People just announce it. If they if they started to sell it, that's a rug pull, and the price would go down. But if they did it quickly, they could
to a girl,
reap billions and billions of dollars. Asked about the coin's launch on Tuesday at the White House, Mr. Trump said, "I don't know much about it."
It is amazing how much Trump has changed his tune about cryptocurrency. He was very specific.
He said it's not money last time. Yeah.
But this time, crypto wealth helped get him elected.
Turns out it is money.
Yeah.
Who knew?
It is interesting to kind of think, like, if you were to wind back the clock, if Biden were to, were to have told Gary Gensler, like, maybe ease up like 10% on the crypto industry, and if Biden had, say, invited Elon Musk to an event about electric vehicles at the White House, might things have turned out differently? But
I don't know. I think you really, honestly, don't you have to, if you're going to make Bitcoin be what it wants to be, don't you have to regulate it like a security? Otherwise, it's just a speculative.
I think even under Gensler, Bitcoin was going to kind of come out clean, or be regulated as a commodity rather than a security.
Okay. I think you want that, right?
Yeah, but most other cryptocurrencies tend to be associated with an entity or a small group, and those Gensler's SEC was moving to regulate like securities. I suspect under Trump, the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission is going to end up with most oversight.
So there will be some oversight, you think?
Right, which that was the crypto industry's kind of preferred regulator.
Yeah, they want to be somewhat respectable. That's why they don't like these,
or at least
coins.
to appear respectable.
Right.
Right. They just don't want SEC regulation.
Right.
They'd rather this other smaller agency.
Eric Trump, when asked about the Trump tokens, he dismissed criticism. He says, the Trump trading card and World Liberty Financial are two of the most successful products in crypto history. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How can you say it was a conflict of interest?
Yeah, so I'm kind of still stuck on the NFT crypto as collectibles because they're fungible. So like you don't collect them all. You're trying to collect all the Bitcoin. No one's trying to collect all the Bitcoin.
No. He's not saying crypto. He's saying NFTs are collectibles, right?
Just
and
NFTs?
and
Okay,
meme
that makes more
coins.
sense.
And meme coins.
But meme coins, no.
Meme coins,
what is the
they're
definition?
fungible, right? They're not. You can't say I've got, unless you get a nice piece of paper with gold borders on it or something.
Like that's the whole point of crypto is that it's fungible.
It's fungible, that it's all, one is the same as the other. It's not collectible. An NFT, you could say, well, I've got this Bored Ape. I've got Bored Ape 304.
But is a meme coin, is a Trump meme coin fungible? I mean, there are places you can go. There are banks and retail outlets. Dell will take your Bitcoin. You can pay them in Bitcoin. There's and there's places where Bitcoin is fungible. But a Trump meme coin, if you were to take your phone in and show someone the bits that say, oh, this is a Trump meme coin, I would like that car.
Well, I don't
think you're going to get very far.
Yeah, I think it's different. It's more that, is it? I think your question really is that it's exchangeable for some goods or services.
That's different from fungible. Fungible means they're all the same. Like one is the same as another, right? One Trump coin is the same as another Trump coin.
Right. Whereas, two NFTs, each is unique. Dumb monkeys, are different, slightly different from each other, and so they're not directly exchangeable. But whether you can exchange a Trump coin, for some good or service, that's not fungible. I think I'm not sure what the exchangeable or legal tender, I guess would be the probably.
Well, there's also the concept of scarcity. Right. And I mean, so baseball cards, right? There's more than one copy of the Mickey Mantle rookie card,
True.
True. and one is just like the other, except that it's not, because one's worn and one has a crease in the edge and everything. And I don't think you get the exact same variation with meme coins, but you do, at least in theory, have scarcity. If you say, this is a limited
There's
run,
only five, right?
And just like the Franklin Mint, or just like anyone that does limited edition prints or something, you can say it's the scarcity that makes this thing valuable, and that will allow.
But there's no scarcity of Trump. I mean, well, there is. There's just millions of them, of the $sign Trump. So
if only there was scarcity.
Now I'm just gonna get more email now. You see? Yeah. Look, we're only talking about it from a point of view of a technology point of view, and these are technological innovations. I honestly, looking at trying to find a silver line. I feel like saying let's not over-regulate AI is a good thing, right? And rolling back some of those AI, Biden's AI executive order and so forth. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we want to stimulate this AI economy to see what happens. Now, if you think AI is BS, you disagree. And I don't know if AI is BS or not. I don't know if we're going to get super intelligence or we're going to get something super valuable. I think it's worth a try.
The problem is that the states are not going to stay still. Like California already has some AI regulations on the book, which passed in the most recent legislative session, some of which kicked in January 1st. And I think you'll see more probably from New York, I would guess would be one.
But who is not going to stand still for sure is China. We've already seen that. So I think we need to move forward. We can't get too finicky here on AI unless it truly is an existential threat to the humanity. But I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, and China, by the way, has been very, China has cracked down on lots of tech sectors, and I think that you will see, the AI that comes out of China, it's already regulated, right? We talked about how you can't ask Chinese chatbots about Tiananmen Square.
Yeah.
So China is going to have AI with Chinese characteristics. And I think it behooves us to have AI with American characteristics.
Yes.
And think about what those
I agree. But I don't think, in fact, Governor Newsom vetoed that AI regulation in California because he felt like it would hold AI development back, that it was too aggressive.
Yeah, the specific one that kind of required safety testing.
A kill switch and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Biden executive order required safety testing for companies of a certain size. But the California law actually required a kill switch, which I think might have been going a bridge too far. At least it was for Governor Newsom. Or Governor Newscum, as the president calls him in a very mature fashion. All right, I want to take another break here. You're watching a bunch of libtards talk about cryptocurrency. Clearly, you thought you had Twit, but you had MSNBC all along. We'll move on from that in just a little bit. Maybe not right away. Samable Samit is here. Owen Thomas, great to have all three of you. Ed Bott, so nice to see you. You're watching This Week in Tech, brought to you this week by my personal choice for VPNs. People are always asking me, A, should I have a VPN? And then B, which VPN should I get? Yes, you should have a VPN. Maybe don't use it always, but there are times when you need it. I'll be honest, when we wanted to test to see if TikTok really was gone for good, we fired up ExpressVPN and went to a few different countries to see if we could get it. A few decades ago, private citizens used to be private. Not anymore. What's changed? The internet. Think about everything you do on your phone or your computer, all the things you browsed, you've searched for, you've watched, all the tweets. Now imagine all that data being crawled, collected, aggregated by data brokers. It is into a permanent public record, your record. With your name right there on it, having your private life exposed for others to see what was once something only celebrities worried about, but in an era where everyone is online, everyone is now a public figure, and the law does not protect you. You got to protect yourself. That's why if you want to keep your data private, when you go online, you got to do what I do, which you got to turn to ExpressVPN. It's one of the easiest ways for data brokers to track you is through your device's unique IP address. Because as soon as you're online, right, that's your identifier. And it can be correlated to all the other information they have about you. So not only do they get information about your location, they can match it up. With ExpressVPN, your IP address is not yours. It's theirs. It's not just something only you use. It's something a whole bunch of other people use, which makes it much more difficult for data brokers to monitor, track, and monetize your private online activity. It's incognito mode doesn't do it. ExpressVPN does. I love ExpressVPN because they care so much about your privacy. They do two things very important. And by the way, Bleeping Computer had a really nice write-up on this a few months ago. They run the trusted server. So when you fire up the ExpressVPN, it launches a server wherever you choose, and it fires up that server on their computer in those countries in RAM sandbox. It can't write to the hard drive. It's just out there in RAM. As soon as you close the connection, it goes away and all traces of your visit disappear. And that's been audited by a third party. We know it does what it says it's going to do. They wrote this trusted server specifically to do that. They do one more thing. They run on a custom Debian distribution, which wipes the drive every morning. Every morning they reboot, everything's gone. There's no trace of your use of ExpressVPN. In fact, if you really want to protect your privacy, you can pay them with crypto. And really then there is no way to trace anything you do online back to you. Why is ExpressVPN the best VPN? Of course, it protects your security as well by encrypting your network traffic. So even if you're on the same network in a coffee shop, a hotel with a bad guy, they can't see you. They can't see what you're doing. ExpressVPN has apps for your iPhone, your Android device, your laptop, Windows. It even has, they sell them. They're very good. It'll run on servers on your routers. So you can protect your whole house. And the thing is, it's not I'll be honest, it's not a free VPN. It's not expensive. It's less than $7 a month. I think even less than that. But that money is important because it supports them in doing everything they need to do to keep you safe, including rotating the IP addresses, creating those server technologies you just heard about, and providing enough bandwidth to each server so you can put it on your whole house and nobody's going to say, hey, what happened to the internet? It's slowed down. It's fast. It supports HD video, which is another nice reason to have it. ExpressVPN is easy to use. You tap one button to turn it on and you're protected. Put it on your router. The whole family be protected. I'm telling you, we use it anytime we want to get online and not be seen. Protect your online privacy today by visiting expressvpn.com/twit, the only VPN I use and recommend, expressvpn.com/twit. I've had an account with them for a decade now, I think. You'll get an extra 4 months free when you buy a 2-year package at expressvpn.com/twit. That brings the price down to well below $7 a month. I think that's look, don't use a free VPN, because if you're not paying for it, well, then you are paying for it in a weird way. They're selling your information off, not ExpressVPN. The best, expressvpn.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support of This Week in Tech. You support us too when you go to expressvpn.com/twit. Sir Paul McCartney says, don't let AI steal our records. He is worried about proposed changes in the United Kingdom copyright law that would allow tech companies to freely train their models on online content unless the copyright holders expressly opt out. Sir Paul says, no, we're the people. You're the government. You're supposed to protect. Paul, you're sounding like a hippie. You're supposed to protect us. That's your job. So if you're putting through a bill, make sure you protect the creative thinkers, the creative artists. This is a warning, or you're not going to have them. Now, he's not against AI. Remember, he used AI to create what he called the last Beatles record, to clean up a John Lennon demo and make a real song out of it. So he knows AI and he uses it, but he says, you get young guys and girls coming up, they write beautiful songs and they don't own it. They don't have anything to do with it. And anybody who wants to can just rip it off. That money's going somewhere, he said. It should go to the artist, not just some tech giant somewhere. I was the one who's just arguing that you shouldn't have any restrictions on AI, but if Sir Paul says you should, I think having it be opt out is probably not the right way to go. Or is it?
Can we run Leah's voice through an AI that does a Paul McCartney accent? Just
Better
the whole
than
show,
that? Paul McCartney.
whole show,
the whole
Paul
time.
McCartney.
I'll talk like this the whole time. I don't mind. That's a bad Paul McCartney. I was reluctant to invoke because I like Sir Paul. He has a point, and he has been saying this for a while, right?
Yeah, and one of the things I've seen or read about lately, I haven't actually seen them myself, is a lot of AI slop songs on Spotify in particular.
Oh, did you see that? Yeah. They're using them. If you ask for an ambient playlist, I want a dinner party bossa nova. 3/4 of the songs were not created by artists.
Yeah, they're just AI. They're just AI slop, and that's a place. That's a place. That sort of discovery mechanism is where artists get the chance to go from unknown to cult favorite to mainstream.
Right.
And if those discovery playlists are filled with generated crap that is built from, make me something that sounds like Elvis Costello, make me something that sounds like David Sanborn. You're never going to get. You're just not going to get. You're not going to have space for new artists to come up there, and I think that's exactly the same point he was making.
Well, and frankly, Spotify, even if you are an artist, pays the least of any of the music services. So, already they're kind of.
But if you're an AI, they don't pay you anything,
and they don't have to pay you anything
because it can't be copyrighted.
Right. There's a new study from Duetti, a new economics reports analyzing the artists' payouts for various music streaming services. Who would you think pays the most? I was surprised to see this. Per 1,000 streams, Amazon pays the most. Amazon Music pays $8.80 per 1,000 streams. Apple is second with $6.20. Then Google's YouTube, $4.80. Then Spotify, $3. Almost a third less, 2/3 less than Amazon. And Apple plays double what Spotify plays.
It's interesting how Amazon Music really started as this kind of defensive move to protect the CD business that they had back in the day.
Oh, really? Is that why they did it? Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, same reason for the Kindle. Amazon sold a lot of books. They saw ebooks coming and didn't want to lose out. I do wonder. I do wonder if Amazon's payouts are higher because they're subscale in digital music. Do they need to go out and buy, say, a Sirius XM, which owns Pandora, to kind of compete with Apple and Spotify?
Yeah, I think this is a market share question. Like anybody who has the top market share, I think is going to pay the least.
Pay less.
Yeah,
Which,
it's going
in
to pay
fact,
the least. That's
if you
always
look at this, it probably is exact reverse order of market share, isn't it? By the way, Spotify denies it. Says those numbers are wrong. None of these companies reveal what they pay. So Spotify says we don't even pay per stream. So these claims are ridiculous and unfounded. No streaming service pays per stream because that would incentivize streaming services to minimize streams or use AI to generate songs. He didn't say that out loud. It would mean low engagement, fewer artist connections, and lower overall payouts. Instead, we take the opposite approach. They don't really explain it. We want users to engage more so they pay more by sticking around and choosing premium. We're proud to be the leader in total payouts. Oh, we make it up in volume. Of course, they're the leader in total payouts. They're the leader by far in total plays.
I have a good friend who's a musician, and he says that he gets these like quarterly or what have you
statements,
and it's all Spotify. Nothing else really kind of moves the needle.
I'm surprised Apple doesn't, but Apple was so slow to go to streaming, right? They really wanted you to. they thought buying music. They thought people wanted to own the music, even though you don't really own the music when you buy it.
Oh, Steve Jobs famously said, people want to own their music.
Right.
And so he wanted to sell tracks rather than stream them.
They were very slow to go to streaming.
I was so happy when the other day when I was craving the Wicked soundtrack after seeing the movie and discovered, oh yeah, I bought that back in the iTunes Music Store days, and it's still on my Apple Music app.
But you mean the original Broadway show soundtrack? The
original Broadway show,
much better, probably. I don't know. I tried to watch the movie.
The fandom debates it.
Really? Do they? They think Ariana and Cynthia are better. No. Dina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth.
Excuse me, that's Adele Dazeem to you, sir.
Adele Dazeem to all of us. You loved that movie. Are you holding space for Defying Gravity?
I just saw this reel where Ariana Grande is talking about being in that interview where Cynthia Erivo is asked about how fans are holding space for Defying Gravity, and Cynthia Erivo has no idea what the interviewer means, and I think that's because the interviewer had no idea what she meant by holding space, and to this day, none of us know what holding space means when used in any context about anything.
I'm glad. I wanted to ask my gay friends, what does that mean? Because I thought maybe I'm just too.
Oh, don't put this on us gays. We are not holding space for holding.
You're
space.
not holding space either. Well, who the hell is then? Did you love Wicked? Not the play, the movie.
I did love.
Okay.
I did love Wicked.
I have not been able to get through it. I'm partly because I'm a type 2 diabetic, and too much sugar will kill me, and I could feel it.
Well, I'll tell you this. Judy and I saw Wicked, 10.
Yeah, I saw it on Broadway.
Many years ago on Broadway with Kristen Chenoweth. And,
amazing.
And really enjoyed it. And then we saw the movie, and we really enjoyed that. And because they are two completely different things.
Yes,
it's a different. They're just different experiences.
Yes,
and they both we're both fans of the story and the artists and all.
The play was over in 3 hours. The movie, it's not going to be over till next year. So there is a difference there.
I'm waiting for for AI to take the two halves when they finally come out and merge them into one 2.5 hour, 2 hour 45-minute film. That'll be good.
Yeah. What you won't be able to do is put them on your Blu-ray DVD because Sony has ended production of recordable Blu-rays with no successor planned. It's the end of the line for recordable Blu-rays. Oh, they're also going to stop manufacturing mini discs. Did you know they were still making them?
Is anybody still using either of those? I mean,
well, I could see recordable DVDs, Blu-rays, because even for data backup and stuff, right? Apparently, nobody's buying them, or they wouldn't stop making them. I mean, they're going to stop recording.
Is anybody still doing the backup to recordable discs?
Somebody
as opposed to just doing cloud backup.
My grandfather must. I don't know. It's sad. And Ed, you probably kind of sympathize with this. Used to be able to make fun of older people and their lack of knowledge about technology. Now I am one. And So I can't any longer, say, well, you old folks, stop backing up to recordable media.
I'm going to say, for my entire career, that's a thing that I have tried to avoid is those stereotypes.
But don't say your mom would understand how this works. That
your mom would, or your grandfather. Your less technically sophisticated relatives, regardless of what age they are.
That's right.
Is the thing. But I do. One of my favorite lines was a friend of mine back in the 90s who was, she was 50 something and had worked at a very large company doing very important technology work. And she had some very young person come into the company who was trying to impress her with his level of knowledge. And she just looked at him and said, kid, I have email addresses that are older than you.
It's probably true. Probably true.
And I think that's probably true for our generation.
That's right.
You and me now.
I think, frankly, it's the case that we older folks, because we had to work it all out on our own, maybe understand technology a little bit better than a generation that just kind of had it handed to them on a slab of glass, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
my kids are, 33 and 29, and they grew up using this technology their entire lives. They learned to use a mouse, when they were my younger kid, started using a mouse.
Sure.
2.
It's nothing special for them.
But if you ask them how any of this stuff works, no idea.
Ask them if have you ever removed the ball of your mouse to clean it?
Both of them actually have assembled their own PCs.
Oh, well, they're
both of them wanted to do that.
Okay.
But I don't think that, they know how to plug the pieces together and basically what each of those components does, but they don't really understand. They've never done any coding, and they don't.
Building
really
a PC these days is like Legos.
Yeah, that's true. It's not what it used to be. I remember putting chips. I'm sure Ed, you remember putting chips, maybe Sam too, into the sockets, right? The memory, adding RAM chips.
And you could put it in the wrong way and screw the whole thing up. You
could, or bend the pin, there's all sorts of things you could do wrong. Sony, by the way, we should point out, these are recordable Blu-rays. You're still going to be UHD and Blu-ray discs for commercial movies. That's not going to change it. And apparently Verbatim and others are going to continue to make recordable Blu-rays. So this does not mean they're gone. It's just Sony's going to stop. And it is their technology. They did invent it. They're going to kill mini discs, MD data, and mini DV cassettes as well. It's funny because all of the tech TV shows were recorded on mini DV cassettes somewhere.
I'm amazed they were still making those.
I know. So, the cameras are out there, right?
I've got one in the closet here across from me, and a box of mini DV tapes. But I transferred those I digitized those probably 10, 15 years ago.
I have not yet transferred them. I probably should.
I've got all those home movies we shot when the kids were little on my Plex server now.
I do worry in terms of understanding technology developments like Meta's AI engineer. Is Meta going to have staff who understand how their algorithms work? If it's all offloaded to an AI engineer that's developing the AI, and we don't really know already how these large language models work kind of on a deep level. We just see the inputs and the outputs. We actually glossed over that. And I thought that was a fairly interesting thing that Mark Zuckerberg said, that they would have an AI engineer designing software for Meta, presumably for Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp. So, it's like, how are junior software engineers going to learn how to code and develop and progress if they can't, get to the skills that they need to, perfect AI? I mean, I guess we just offload it all to AI and hope that AI perfects itself,
When, in the early part of my engineering career in the 90s and then into the mid 2000s, I was doing automotive software. And part of our process was doing code reviews, doing reviews at various stages of development, reviewing the documentation, reviewing the code, doing peer reviews. And, so we actually had to go through line by line. And obviously, I don't think it's possible to do that anymore just because of the huge size of some of these applications. But that was part of how I learned how to do this stuff, was from reading and reviewing the code that other people wrote.
And there's another related issue there. I know at Microsoft and at other large companies, there's big code bases, and there's a real reluctance to touch that code unless you know exactly what you're doing. And in fact, I can remember a couple times when a problem came up and somebody had to be called in who had been at the company, who had retired 5 years earlier, 10 years earlier, but had been responsible for that code for 10 years. And they brought that person back in, paid them a huge consulting fee to help them understand what the issue was and how to fix it. And if you have an AI engineer, I'm going to use your air quotes there, Leo. If you have an AI engineer writing this code, how are you ever going to have someone who can explain to you what it does, or more importantly, explain why this one part of it is the way it is because a bad thing happened 10 years ago and it wasn't obvious, but we never touched that block of code because bad things happen, and you won't have that. You won't have that. You don't get institutional knowledge because there won't be an institution.
Now you are sounding like an old timer, Ed, because honestly, the same. So the COBOL engineers who were brought in to fix Y2K, we got another one, by the way, coming up in 2038. It's the Unix epic problem. The Unix time is going to run out of bits in 2038. It'll be very much like Y2K. I am convinced that by then, the fixes will be automatically applied by AI. No human will have to look at it. No COBOL expert will have to come in and fix it. If you've ever looked at a regular expression that was very intractable and obscure, the easiest way to fix it, to figure out what it's doing, is to give it to an AI. It's brilliant at that stuff. It can look at the code that no one else could figure out. Why does this work and why did we do it 20 years ago? I think AI is completely capable of doing that. I think an AI coding engineer is not too far off. Now, I'm not an expert in this domain, but we have a new show launching. We're going to rename This Week in Google. A week from Wednesday, we're going to rename it Intelligent Machines. We're booking Ray Kurzweil to come on. And I think if anybody would understand and be able to tell us whether this is going to happen to be Ray, he's been saying the singularity is just around the corner for decades. But we are going to get people on who can talk with some expertise around this. But it is my sense, it's possible Marc is a hype monster, that Sam Altman's a hype monster, that these guys are just raising money and that they're misrepresenting what's going to happen. But it's honestly, I don't think they're wrong. I think it is my sense that within the next few years, it'll be very credible to have an AI generate working code. And at that point, there is a scary singularity, because once AI can start writing itself, start creating new AI itself, that starts to happen very, very quickly. So I know you guys are skeptical, but I think it's just around the corner, literally a few years off it, or at the latest.
I guess I'm not skeptical about the idea that there is a lot of scut work in programming, a lot of repetitive kind of, not high value work that has to be done because, the process of coding is still not sufficiently kind of instrumented and automated. I definitely see a role for AI in kind of reducing that scut work. I guess I question, I question the higher level applications of AI, and if we as a society want to offload those higher level parts of the process.
I think
we replaced the weavers when we came up with automated looms. I mean, this is what happens in the world.
Yeah, but the thing is, we had people that knew how the looms worked and how to fix the looms and how to keep them running.
And we also birthed, fashion industries in Milan, London, Paris, New York, right? Maybe you didn't need to weave these things by hand to create works of art.
By the way, I found
to what Owen was saying, if we just hand off all of this coding to machines, we don't have the equivalent of the people that repaired and built and understood how those looms work. if we rely on them for all the coding, who's going to go back when something inevitably does go wrong? And it will. You cannot build a perfect system, and so things are going to go wrong. And who's going to go back and be able to figure out how to fix those things, or even diagnose what might have gone wrong, if we hand off everything to machines?
Well, I think we're going to find out. It'll be, it's going to be interesting. I think I don't think code is that special. It's not the Pietà. It's not the Mona Lisa. It's not the Sistine ceiling.
It's not, but I think we do need to understand it.
I think a machine is very capable of understanding it.
But if we don't understand the machine, that's what I'm getting at.
But we already are there, right? We already know these are black boxes, these AIs.
Yeah, that's the problem. We don't understand the machine.
Well, that's a very
human-centric
way of thinking of things.
Well,
we don't even understand our own brains.
What can I say?
But we don't understand how our brains work. Doesn't mean we trust them less.
Well, I don't know. I mean, looking back at the last few years, I don't know that we should be trusting our brains.
That's why you should that's actually why you should be more skeptical of an AGI, because we don't even know what our consciousness is. How are we going to know what an artificial one is?
We'll find out when we get there.
But we won't know. It's a philosophical question more than a technical question.
This is evolution. Right? Isn't this evolution? Isn't this how things are supposed to work? We get better and better, and maybe
are we getting better?
A new species.
Well, I mean, this is the philosophical part of it. What is better, right? Like what constitutes better?
Well, there is no better, right? It's all what can survive.
It's different.
It's whatever will survive.
And let's talk about the economic incentives, because the economic incentives that are driving most of the AI research today are about eliminating human labor cost.
And that's right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there was something that I read that Marc Andreessen said that just, there's a lot of things that Marc Andreessen has said that make me roll my eyes, but this one, but it basically said that, he said something like, that AI will eliminate 70 or 80% of the jobs, but it'll drive the cost of everything down so low that people will still have a better quality of life, which was,
you're talking about his famous techno-optimist manifesto.
Yeah.
Yeah. In which and this is the problem with all these guys. They eventually come to, there'll be universal basic income, because you're absolutely right. There won't be any more jobs. So how are humans going to survive? Who's going to be the market for this AI? Well, the stuff will be so cheap, you won't need any money.
Okay, then don't charge me for anything.
Well, that's the plan.
Leo, I think at some point we need to go to the Andreessen Horowitz homepage and see what this purported tech genius has done.
All their investments, yeah.
No, the new logo. You've got to see it. You've got to.
Oh, what is that? Is it a Bitcoin? What is that? What is that?
It's an Ayn Rand Art Deco.
Oh, it is
fever dream. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the city that they're building in Fairfield?
Maybe. So for people who are listening, it's a golden 3-dimensional coin with some sort of goddess who seems to have an abacus built into her chest, holding a heart-shaped orb emanating light over a futuristic city.
Leo, you know what this reminds me of?
What?
When I was a high school student, I went on an exchange program to Volgograd in what was then the fading Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And they had a giant statue commemorating the victory over the Nazis.
Yes.
And this reminds me of that statue.
Yes. There's one in Budapest. It's very similar.
Yeah. Heroic art.
They never take these down because they were built with concrete. You can't you can never take it down. I've hiked up to see That's exactly what that is. That's a Soviet era.
I'm just waiting for Andreessen Horowitz to begin publishing their 5-year plans, because then I'm sure that everything will make perfect sense once we have a 5-year plan.
That's what we need, a 5-year plan for the agricultural harvest.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The people who haven't studied 20th century history might not understand that reference, but
just
it's worth looking up.
Chinese famine, and you'll
the Soviet
Soviets
that was
too. Yeah,
Stalin. Stalin did a pretty good job of and there's actually a tech angle. There's actually a tech angle to those famines, because there was a scientist who believed that there were, certain seeds or something that, these were going to be completely weather resistant, and you could just grow them reliably. And there were other scientists who said, no, these are magic beans here. They're not going to work. But he had the ear of the Politburo. And so those were the seeds that were planted, and nothing grew, and people starved.
Yeah.
Millions.
In the 30s, about 5 to 8 million Soviet citizens starved because a centralized planned economy did not provide them with food. In the 60s, same thing happened in China. They say as many as 55 million people starved during the Great Chinese Famine. 3 years of famine.
I'm reading a bunch of Vladimir Lenin quotes on Marxists.org, and
well, God bless you.
And I'm just thinking, half of these you could put them out. You could post on X and attribute them to Marc Andreessen, and probably most people would believe that Marc Andreessen said them.
Isn't it funny? Because, of course, Elon's biggest insult is that you're a Marxist. When, in fact, a lot of what this terrestrial kind of utopianism is very Marxist in its thinking.
Oh, yeah, it is. Let's see. This is a really good one. If you'll forgive me. Those who are really convinced that they have made progress in science would not demand freedom for the new views to continue side by side with the old, but the substitution of the new views for the old. Okay. Lenin or Andreessen?
Yeah, you should do. Yeah, you should do a whole. You could do a who said it thing.
Yeah, who said it? That's a good. Yeah, Marc Andreessen or
I mean that sounds
Marx.
like it's straight out of the Techno Optimist Manifesto.
I want you to write a website. ChatGPT will do it for you instantly. Marc or Marx with a series of quotes.
Marc or Marx.
Yeah, and you could just put them side by side and then grade people at the end, give them their marks. We're going to take a little break. You're watching This Week in Tech with 3, now we know, Marxists. Oh, no, wait a minute. We're anti-Marxists. See, all this time we've been anti-Marxists.
You're going to the re-education camp, Leo.
That's deep trouble. Whatever happens, I'm just an anti-Marxist. By the way, I do think I have a new way of raising funds. These are sealed in the box mini DVs cassettes. Anybody wants to buy these? I just found a whole bunch of them.
$1,000 a piece. They're genuine Sony.
That one was a DAT. That one was a DAT.
Do they have TikTok on them?
They're still making DATs.
You beat me
to it. Very good. You recognize the DAT. For some reason, I have 3 of them say the screensavers from March 2003. They're all the same. I don't know why I have many of them. They're all the same. But all right. I just found my entire collection of mini cassettes.
Those are probably offsites, right?
I don't. It's funny. The DAT is exactly the same size. Is it the same technology?
No.
Same mechanism? No. Yeah. This is mini DV, which is what Sony's discontinuing. Then some of these are DVC. I don't know. I think they're all from Tech TV, is what I think. Actually, one of these intrigues me. It says Leo Laporte, hour number 1. I wonder if it's an old air check. Be kind of fun if it is. Where do you get who can convert these for me?
I'm sure there's a place in Petaluma somewhere that can do that for you. Or just buy a little machine on eBay for
a DAT machine.
Yeah.
All right. Wow.
There's a science project for you.
Yeah.
That's what I do with my old DV tapes. I just bought an old camera from eBay.
Yeah. All right. Take a break. We're going to come back. More to come on This Week in Tech. Our show today brought to you by Melissa. I spent a nice afternoon talking to some of the new data scientists at Melissa. Well, some of the stuff they're doing is really amazing. They've been around since 1985. Your data quality experts. And of course, it started with addresses, but data quality is really more than just addresses. Your company's data is the most important thing you've got, right? Customer lists, supplier lists, but it's decaying. People move, addresses change, typos arise in phone numbers and emails. Now, Melissa has so many apps that they've actually created a marketplace that you can go to and search for the app that'll do what you want. They just debuted in the Stripe app marketplace. So if you're a Stripe customer, look for Melissa, because you now have access to the same data quality services that large global enterprises use every day from Melissa, integrated right into Stripe, including, by the way, address validation, which is great because, that's at the point of entry where you or your customer service rep or your customer is entering the data is the first place data goes wrong. The Melissa app in Stripe validates global addresses both at the customer and the invoice level and does it all within Stripe. They provide auto-completion, which, of course, everybody loves because it reduces the number of keystrokes. You start typing and it finishes it. And it's pulling from the address database, so it's always valid addresses that enter your database. It's very easy to configure, very user-friendly. You can configure the app with a few steps, automatically provides support for customer account invoice level validation. The app offers smooth management of API keys and subscriptions, facilitating transitions from free to paid services. And comprehensive support, by the way, of course, from Melissa. Users will have direct access to Melissa experts. So, there's never a question, never a mystery. You always get high quality service and support. Melissa, enhancing operational efficiency, boosting customer satisfaction, maintaining overall financial health. These are the strategic goals any forward-thinking business should have. And if you rely on Stripe, you're no exception. Now you have an ever-expanding tool set at the ready with Melissa. And don't worry about compliance. Melissa's services understand compliance better than anyone. With Melissa, you get its secure encryption for every file transfer and an information security ecosystem built on the ISO 27001 framework. They adhere to GDPR policies. They're SOC 2 compliant. I can go on and on and on. Melissa protects the data like it's the gold that it really is. Get started today with 1,000 records cleaned for free. Melissa.com/twit. melissa.com/twit. Really smart people. Really smart people doing a very good job. It's a great company. Melissa.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting our little efforts here at This Week in Tech. Startups are built on dreams, writes Owen Thomas. Did you write this one?
I edited it. Okay. This was by my colleague Will Hicks.
And it is, I can't see it because it's behind the paywall, but this is a company in Redwood City, there he is, William Hicks, that wants to turn your dreams into big business. Tell me all about it.
It's really interesting. This entrepreneur has been kind of obsessed with lucid dreaming and basically wants to turn it into kind of something that we can harness for controlling our environment, driving autonomous cars. It seems
it's not completely bogus, is it? You think it's real?
It seems pretty science fiction.
The company's name is REM Space, right?
Yes.
For rapid eye movement.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the vital part of our sleep.
That's when we're dreaming.
And when our mind kind of regenerates and comes up with a lot of things. In some ways, it's the anti-AI, right? It's harnessing something quintessentially human, that is, to Sam's point, poorly understood.
I remember reading about them because there was a story that they had two people who were able to talk to one another in their dreams. Is that right? Is my memory correct?
Yes, that's the same company.
So a word was transmitted into earbuds worn by somebody who was sleeping. The sensors were able to pick up a response, which was then sent to a second sleeping person, who then, when he woke up, said Rosebud or whatever it was, and it worked.
Yeah, it does seem a little, it does seem a little out there, but what I like about the story more than anything is the kind of meta aspect of it. That is, yes, AI companies are getting the lion's share of new venture capital these days, but there's other stuff going on. There's other kind of progress. There's other kind of crazy experiments out there, and
when I was a young man, I was fascinated by the idea of lucid dreaming, and I read all the books and did all the tapes and tried to. So lucid dreaming is what happens when you actually wake up within your dream and you're able to somewhat control it, right? And you remember, and you're there, right?
It is a kind of metaverse if you think about it.
Yeah, and
in
people,
your head.
Yeah, but people claim they can go visit other people. They can, do stuff. They can fly and so forth. And unlike a dream where you don't have any control of the experience, they can control the experience. I always wanted to do that, never could. Is this their plan?
Yeah, I think the founder wants to kind of, open up, exploit, or amplify the power of lucid dreaming. I don't know if the idea is to, if you're not capable of lucid dreaming, to like introduce that capability, but maybe
they
it
have
is on
some
the
people
roadmap.
who can. That's the point. They have volunteers. They wear a special sleep mask that monitors their brain waves and eye movements, so they know whether they're lucid or not. They say dreamers were able to control a remote-controlled car by twitching muscles during sleep to steer and move the car forward. They are about to launch a smaller sensor device that can be sent to up to 100 people for the next round of remote experiments. I should say that this guy, this founder, who's from Kazakhstan, Michael Raduga, while he was waiting for his green card, his H-1B visa to come to the United States, had a hole drilled through his skull so he could, I don't know what, stick a wire in there.
And he did it overseas because he knew, if he were in the U.S. or or France or wherever,
they would not allow such a thing. But in Kazakhstan, no problem. we implant electrodes into brains all the time.
It is wild, and they are planning to introduce a sleep mask that supposedly will help you achieve lucid dreams.
All right. The electrodes that he implanted have since been removed by a licensed neurosurgeon. Okay.
I wonder if RFK Jr. will make this all legal now.
I want it to be true.
Didn't Micah Sargent used to do
a podcast on sleep and so forth? I don't know if he was able to lucid dream. Were you able to lucid dream, Micah? I don't know. I've always wanted to, but it's always failed for me. But part of the problem, I don't think I'll ever be able to, because I don't even see. I can't. I'm aphasic. I can't see images when I close my eyes. My dreams are just conceptual, not I can't. Yeah. People say, "Do you dream in color?" I don't even dream in things. I just dream in concepts.
I don't know about you guys, but I almost never remember dreams. Almost very, very.
Well, that
rarely.
You could fix. You keep a dream journal. Eventually, you will remember your dreams.
Well,
did you know
how
that?
do you keep a dream journal if you wake up and you can't remember anything?
Well, you just bit by bit. So you wake up, you write down what you can remember, and then you go back to sleep. And then,
but if you
over
don't
a period of days, months, and years, you will eventually remember your dream. You get better and better at it. Okay. I notice Ed is wisely recusing himself from this entire conversation.
I have. I am not a lucid dreamer, but I do have very vivid dreams, and I often remember them when I wake up. But what's interesting, and the dream journal, the thing about the dream journal technique that does work is because those don't go to the portions of your brain that store memory, and so 5 minutes later you're going, wow, that dream was really intense, and I can't remember exactly
I hate
what
that
happened.
feeling. Don't you hate that
but
feeling?
when you wake, when you wake
tongue.
up, when you wake up, you can remember everything, and I'll sometimes
Write it down right away.
Yeah.
Or record it. Yeah. I'm going through your stories now, Owen. That was the first. Should we do when San Francisco? Actually, this is a Chronicle story. When San Francisco fought Pac-Man. Did you know the city declared war on video games? When was this? In the 80s?
82, yes. Kind of in the height of the, Pac-Man fever.
We know it's a long time ago because all the pictures in this story are in black and white.
Yeah. I mean, with the kind of through line between San Francisco of 1982 and San Francisco of 2025 is that someone proposed something new and neighbors all opposed it.
It's called NIMBY.
Yeah.
It's as old as the hills.
Wait, would that be Nintendo in my backyard?
Nintendo in my backyard. Clement Street fought off Space Invaders yesterday, wrote Chronicle reporter Harry Jupiter, by the way. Best name ever. And lots of other coin-devouring video games. More than 50 neighborhood residents and merchants went to a police permit hearing to oppose the 30 machine arcade that was intended on 831 Clement Street. As the Chronicle points out, an arcade today on Clement Street would be welcomed, even celebrated. We have downtown in Petaluma, there's a store that specializes in antique video games and arcade games, and they've got 2 Ms. Pac-Man games.
You could do a great remake of The Music Man, set it in the 80s. We've got trouble right here in River City.
Clement Street, yeah. Mayor
With
Dianne
a capital
Feinstein
P
led the
it stands for
Pac-Man. Dianne Feinstein led the charge. Anti-arcade laws made it harder to launch a video game outpost than it was to open a liquor store. See, this is that moral panic that Jeff Jarvis is always saying. You're worried about social media. In 82, it was Pac-Man, right? I think we survived.
Did we?
We
really?
did.
Yes.
Except now we have, a video game player at the, basically in the halls of power of the White House.
Well, but is he really a video game player? Is he any good? We don't know.
We only have Grimes say so, and
Grimes says he is, so
Yeah.
I believe it.
Well, I mean, we walk around with dozens of video games in our pocket all the time. So,
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. The arcade has come to our pocket.
it's literally called Apple Arcade.
yeah.
You can't get away from it. That's a very good point. Not my backyard, not my back pocket. But it is. And that's a good thing. So tell me about, this is the story you wrote. Julia Hart's Eventbrite is still around.
Yeah, I was kind of looking through companies that had, publicly traded companies that we had not written about recently. And Eventbrite actually had a pretty successful IPO a few years back. And Julia Hartz, the co-founder, took the company public. She was the second youngest woman to take a company public at the time, I believe 2018, not that long ago. So kind of surprising that so few female founders have rung the bell at the New York Stock Exchange or press the button or, whatever they do at NASDAQ.
Not since Elizabeth Holmes, actually.
Oh, bad example. We have, but there are actually, more, I think more positive examples of women very successfully running tech companies. Not a founder, but Fiji Simo at Instacart. She, that company has been on an absolute tear. And for Eventbrite, really, it's more of a kind of a story of a company that has held on and really found a connection, particularly with like event planners. They call them creators, people who organize meetups, events, sell tickets, and Eventbrite has really kind of figured out how to cater to them. Julia told me that what they think about is kind of life phases. So especially right now, what's really important is, people come to a city like San Francisco, they don't really know where to go, what to do, how to meet people. And, she sees Eventbrite as kind of helping them do that. And, obviously,
is Eventbrite, it's funny. It seems like there were so many open source alternatives to Eventbrite, but Eventbrite has triumphed. It's survived, and it's better. Is it the biggest one still?
I don't, actually, I should know, Mark. There is an upstart competitor called Partyful,
yes,
that is very popular because it's kind of very oriented around text messages.
Yes,
a problem.
We used Partyful in the last Tech TV reunion.
Yeah, and part of the problem
it's really was more like messaging. That's exactly right. It was more like, and the pictures were posted there and so forth. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the conferences and stuff that I attend, I end up getting tickets issued to me through Eventbrite. So, I mean,
okay.
I know it gets used by a lot of businesses and, larger event planners.
It's found that sweet spot in kind of, that next level up from just like a party with friends.
Right. The Partiful was actually very cool. I thought it was a pretty neat app.
And
for that event.
Another part of the conversation that I really enjoyed with Julia was talking about, like, why stick with San Francisco? Eventbrite is still headquartered in San Francisco after all these years. They're obviously global, they've got a distributed workforce. But Julia said San Francisco is part of the company's DNA, the creativity, the AI boom that's happening around them right now. By being in San Francisco, they can tap into that in a way that if they were, if they had moved to Austin or Charlotte or wherever,
or North Carolina, the Research Triangle,
and they do have an office in Nashville, by the way. But being in San Francisco lets them kind of tap into that wave of innovation.
People were abandoning San Francisco, and the downtown and the commercial district felt like a ghost town. Has that turned around at all, Owen?
I've got to say, anecdotally, I look out on Battery Street, which is kind of the funnel to the Bay Bridge, and traffic is routinely backed up.
Yeah, that's the worst. You never want to be there at rush hour.
Yeah, but the only reason why it's backed up is because there are people who obviously drove in to work, work all day in San Francisco, and now they're headed home. So they're returning to the office.
Let's be honest, though, Battery Street doesn't take a lot to back up Battery Street.
Well, that's fair. But we also did a survey of kind of some of the top tech employers, and it seems like they are, the most common pattern is they're retaining some kind of hybrid work, but they're tightening down, and they really want you in the office 3 to 4 days a week is typical. So I go into the office on Fridays just because I don't like working from home, and I live pretty close, so might as well walk my dog and get a change of pace. Definitely Fridays are still pretty quiet, and that's a struggle for downtown businesses because they have to staff for 5 days a week.
Yeah.
But
it's really interesting to see our federal government demand that government employees return to work. But I think there are people like Elon Musk who are very much in favor of making people come to the office.
Which is amazing because Elon Musk is never, by definition,
in the office.
He can't
runs
possibly
like
be
5
in
companies
office every day.
Yeah.
For thee, rules for thee, not me.
Yeah, I mean, like XAI has a big office in San Francisco, even though he's moved X Corp, the
Texas.
former Twitter out.
Yeah.
His AI company is in San Francisco because that's where all the hot AI companies are.
Yeah.
They're building a data center in Memphis.
There's something to be said for having an area where there are a lot of companies, a lot of people, and there's this kind of intermingling, cross-pollination of ideas, or even just this energy around. And San Francisco really used to have that.
And, we just had the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, different sector, biotech and healthcare, really busy. You could just see it in kind of the number of suits on the street.
Yeah.
You usually don't see that many people in suits and ties except for JP Morgan week.
Right. You're actually one of the few people who ever comes on this show who has an office.
Well,
Right?
I mean,
Sam, your work from home.
yeah, I haven't
Ed, your
worked
work
in an
from home.
office for over a decade. And
Almost all the people who come on our shows are coming to us from their houses.
But
and
it's
they don't
interesting
go to an office.
what you said, Leo, about that intermingling. I'm based in the Detroit area, and I have not worked out of an office in a decade. But I regularly meet with people in person.
You do need to be where you are.
Yeah, because the industry that I cover, the auto industry, and it's not just the Detroit automakers, which is only 3 companies, but a lot of suppliers, a lot of companies, a lot of Japanese and Korean companies and other and European companies have offices here, and they have tech centers in this area. And so I regularly and also other reporters and analysts that I go to events to, and I talk to people. And so I do interact with a lot of these people in person on a regular basis, often several times a week. And so there is a value to that intermingling, as you said, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in an office.
Right. I am not a big return to work guy. We're a completely remote company now. More for economic reasons than because we want to be. I like the social environment of a workplace, but it works. It works.
I've been at ZDNet for 19. It'll be 19 years in a couple of weeks, and during that time, I've had 2. Basically managing editors who I'm friendly with. We work in a super collegial fashion. They're great people. One of them I've never met, and the other one I just met for the first time, a couple months ago, because she happens to live in North Carolina. But there's a whole bunch of, there's dozens of people that I work with who I've never met in person, and it used to be strange. It's now normal, but I miss that social aspect of it. I mean, just the accidental contact that you get with people, where you just have a conversation and you talk about stuff, and it's not task related. It's just because you're hanging out waiting for something to happen, and you're just shooting the breeze, and you learn things about people, and that fosters a better relationship in many ways.
We are social animals. I think we need to be in a society of some kind. It could, and for many of us, it was for years our workplace. I have the fondest memories of Tech TV and everybody working in the same place. It was really great. And of course, to do a TV show, you kind of do have to be in the same place. Not to do a podcast, as it turns out. I've been doing those for about 20 years now. I don't know. I have mixed feelings. I think it's a big mistake for companies to force employees back to work. I think your best employees are going to say, "Yeah, I don't think so," and you're going to have a brain drain as a result. But do you miss working in the studio? No.
No, I mean, the only thing I really miss is like having a studio.
Yeah,
it's nice having a studio. Like to do stuff.
You don't miss the camaraderie. You don't miss.
I miss hanging out. That's the stuff that you
get-togethers
miss.
to sing "Happy Birthday" while we eat bad cake.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you miss. It's just like the hanging out and the stuff that's more fun to do when you're all together.
And are you mostly in office?
I'm mostly in office. Our policy, for what it's worth, is 3 days a week.
Yeah. That's maybe a good compromise.
And
but are all your writers there? No, probably not.
They are. What we've worked out is it's a little odd in that the sales side is here, I believe, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The newsroom is here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday.
That's definitely a good idea. Keep the salespeople away from the.
Yeah, we kind of
right, Ed.
Yeah,
that's the
Church
Chinese wall.
Church and state.
I'll come in on.
Unfortunately, I sleep with our sales manager, so it's not a good thing.
I'll come in on a Wednesday, and it's just me and maybe one other reporter who has has a meeting downtown, and then on this side of the office, and then on the other side of the office, it's it's a hootenanny.
I'm in general, I think people should be able to be flexible and do what works best for them and their business. I think making a rule like you got to be in the office is pretty industrial era. And we're not in the industrial era anymore. We're in the information age. We got to take a break. Final story. Bill Gates says, if I were born today, I'd probably been diagnosed autistic. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor, ZipRecruiter. Oh, man. When it comes time to hire, you'll be so glad to have ZipRecruiter on your side. Brand new year, right? As a business owner, I know there are always a few new roles you'd like to hire for. If you need to hire for your business, I cannot recommend ZipRecruiter more highly. It's the easiest way to find qualified candidates. Go to ZipRecruiter. You could try it right now for free. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. It's the hiring site employers prefer the most, according to G2. It's the one we use because, there are a number of reasons. One, it's always a challenge when somebody leaves. They give you 2 weeks notice, and now you've got to fill a role. If you don't fill that role in a small business like ours, it means more work for everybody. We got to fill it somehow. So it's kind of important that you fill that role, but you don't want to just put anybody in that slot. Your business really depends on hiring the best people. And nowadays, the best people can choose the job. They go wherever they want. When we post on ZipRecruiter, it really works because, first of all, you're casting the broadest net. You're posting to 100+ job boards, social networks everywhere. So you're making sure that your posting is seen by the most possible people, which very much improves your odds of getting the best person, right? But then ZipRecruiter does something very cool. They have more than 1 million resumes on file all the time because people come to ZipRecruiter looking for work. So what they'll do is take your requirements and match them with the resumes they've got and give you a list of people who fulfill your requirements. You can go through them very quickly. It's all in the ZipRecruiter interface, rank them, and pick some that really match your needs and ask them to apply. Now, that is incredible because when somebody gets invited like that, that moves you right to the top of the list. The best people go, oh, who do I want to work for? A company that I've got to persuade to hire me or a company that wants me? You're going to go to the company that wants you. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology works fast to find top talent so you don't waste time or money. And when you invite the top candidates to apply for your job, they do. They do it faster. They do it. They come ready to work. It's been such a boon for us. Here's to a new year of making hiring easier with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For us, often it's before lunch. We'll post in the morning and it's boom. Lisa goes, wow, look, this is it's cool. You should see for yourself. Go to our exclusive web address. You can try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/TWIT. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. Interesting interview in the London Times. Alice Thompson got a
believe
scoop.
that is the Times of London.
I'm sorry, the Times. Just the Times. That's all you have to say. The Times. There's only one. But if I say the Times here, people think New York Times. So the Times of London. Thank you for the correction, Sam. Bill Gates, Trump, Musk, and how my neurodiversity made me. I didn't know Gates was not a successful student. I thought he got to Harvard. He couldn't have failed too badly. He says he failed frequently at school. He was a weirdo. He said, if I had been born today, I'd probably have been diagnosed as autistic. He would not be alone. I think there are definitely many people on the spectrum in the tech business. And it kind of makes sense because it might be easier to relate to a computer than another human being in some cases, right?
Right.
Here's Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg sitting in a recreation of Zuck's Harvard dorm room. Somehow they've gotten gigantic. Harvard boys, both of them dropouts, right? The author says, we are wandering around Gates' old high school, Lakeside, in his hometown of Seattle. It used to baffle me. It was nowhere near a lake, says the hyperfactual Gates. He showed her where he had his first cigarette, where he got drunk for the first time, where he had his first joint. We end up, she writes, at what his youngest daughter calls the shrine, a room with an ancient terminal attached to an early computer and the desk where Gates spent hours writing code with his buddies Kent and an older pupil named Paul Allen. I remember I was in a boarding school at a similar time. I wasn't boarding, but it was a boarding school. And the moms had gotten together, just as they did at Lakeside School, with a cake sale and so forth, to buy a terminal connected to a big time-sharing computer. And I remember going by that room thinking, that's pretty cool. They got a computer. I never went in. Damn it. Bill Gates went in and learned to code.
You just weren't a weirdo.
I wasn't
Leo.
weird. Maybe I just wasn't weird enough.
You did all right for yourself.
I did okay. But honestly, I was into chess at that time. Had computing been as accessible as these personal computers behind me, I might have been much more likely to do it. But that teletype, and all of that, I just, maybe it was just a bridge
and
too
punch
far.
cards.
And
punch cards and paper tape was my era.
Oh, you're older than you look.
Yeah, I think I am.
I had to fill in the bubbles on cards.
Yeah,
with pencil. We didn't have punch cards at my school.
We, like Lakeside, we had a teletype, so you didn't have to use punch cards, but it had the tractor feed, and you would type, and it would. Then and what's weird is I found out later is when you typed a letter, it would then go to the mainframe, which would then go back to the teletype and put it on the paper. So there was always a little latency when you were typing on it. He says, I don't like to look back much, but it's fun. He has written an autobiography called Source Code, which is why he's doing interviews. Gates turns 70 this year. Microsoft turns 50. The Gates Foundation is 25. But this is the most candid interview. You've interviewed Bill, I'm sure, Ed, right?
No, I never have. I've interviewed several other high-level executives, with Ballmer and others. But I've met Bill once or twice.
I danced with him. The one time I was offered an interview with Bill Gates, they wanted to see my questions and approve them in advance, and I said no. So that's why I've never interviewed him. My experience has been interviewing people like that is never very productive because they're so coached and polished. They're very unlikely to say anything interesting. Now, especially at
Microsoft, you're going to get they have been trained. You're going to get three. Yeah. We have three key messages, and they're just going to repeat them over and over again. Yeah. And the good ones will not say 1, 2, 3. They'll
but you can hear it. It's implied.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to interview some interesting people.
I interviewed Alan Mullally at Ford. Yeah. He was great.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on
Bob Lutz. He was always good for some interesting quotes.
Yeah. I mean, there's people who are on point and yet gracious and kind of, they'll drop a few little tidbits so you don't feel like it was a complete waste of time.
Nolan Bushnell was like that.
He was always good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was nuts.
But he did amazing things.
Oh yeah. He invented the pet rock, took that money and invented Atari, founded Atari. He was an amazing fellow, brilliant guy.
Yeah.
Gates told the Times that he was a challenging child who would have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum if he were growing up today. He said, my parents had no guideposts or textbooks to help them grasp why their son became so obsessed with certain projects, missed social cues, and could be rude or inappropriate without seeming to notice his effect on others. That is kind of textbook, isn't it? He still rocks back and forth like a metronome as he talks, but he's learned to embrace being different, she writes. Quote, this might help those raising a kid who doesn't fit the norm. He agrees. I always suspected that Bill might have been on the spectrum. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and able to work in the workplace, certainly.
He had Ballmer there,
and Paul Allen too, right?
Yeah, but Ballmer was the one.
Paul was also on the spectrum, I think. Come to think of it,
yes, exactly. They were both code.
Nerdy.
They were focused on code and results.
Yeah.
And Ballmer had people skills.
He was a human.
He was a marketing and sales guy, and he was very, very good about listening and answering directly, even if he wasn't going to completely answer the question, he would at least give you the impression that he was. And he was good with people. And I've talked to many people at Microsoft who say their worst memories are bill meetings.
Yeah. It could be painful. Same as Steve Jobs, right?
Yeah, the thing that people heard was, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard," right. and he had to be tough.
So many stories. I remember I can't remember. Well, of course, Mary Jo always told about interviewing Ballmer, and he remembered people's shoes. That was a salesperson's trick that he used. He always looked at people's shoes and remembered what brand of shoes they were wearing, which I thought was very odd. Bill did not. Was it Mary Jo? Somebody told me the story of getting in the elevator with Bill Gates. His mom was with him. This is when Bill Gates is the richest man in the world, in his 40s. And his mom grabbed his glasses off his face, cleaned them, and put them back on his face. The interview, he says, "My mother was the real driving force, clearly an early Tiger Mom prototype. My mom is the central person for me. My dad, who was a lawyer, left really early and came home at dinner. He set us an example of always being on top of things and giving back and working really hard. But the idea of getting dressed properly, having good manners, quote, I'm embarrassed if you don't do well, end quote, was all my mom. Her expectations were very high. All their watches ran on, quote, mum time, 8 minutes early, and she had an intercom installed in the kitchen so she could call them when meals were ready and remind them to make their beds. But Gates' room was always messy. He often refused to put his coat on, got B's and C's in junior high school, and became the class clown. This I did not know. There was even a discussion he might be retarded, he explains. There were moments when they said, hold this kid back. I had nervous energy. I was fidgeting. I was disorganized. Somebody in the Discord is saying, yeah, nowadays he would have been medicated, which may have kept him from ever achieving his potential. Here's a picture.
If he was a poor student in high school, how did he get into Harvard?
He must have gotten better later. Here's a picture of him sitting at that terminal. Look at him. And there he is with his mom, probably taking her to prom, it looks like.
That is
sorry. That was at his sister's wedding with his maternal grandmother. Never mind. I'm sorry. 1977. Anyway, I look forward to reading the biography. There's Bill Gates with his sisters and his mother and father. There he is in the bow tie, looking every bit the nerd. This actually makes him, and it's probably the intent of the article and his book, much more human. In the 70s, no one understood about neurodiversity. If they ever invent a pill where they could say, okay, your social skills would be normal, says Gates, but your ability to concentrate would also be normal, I wouldn't take the pill. Maybe I'm forgetting how painful it was, but I needed my neurodiversity to write that software. I could do all that stuff in my head. That takes a lot of concentration. I wrote my first code as a young teenager on a hike in the snow when I was tired and wet, and I used it later for Microsoft. Wow. On that note, you neurodiversity bunch, it's great to have you. We are really, the Twit family is a neurodiverse family, and I love it. I celebrate it. We need that. That's where the artists, the geniuses, the mavericks come from. God bless them. Live long and prosper, Mr. Ed Bott, editor, senior contributing editor at ZDNet. Great to have you. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Have a great evening. Go watch some football now. No more sacrifices.
Yeah, I'm going to get the second half of that Bills game. Don't anyone tell me the score.
No, shh. Don't know what happened. All I know is
all the ads now.
Shh. No, you want to watch the ads. The ads are the best part. There's an Apple ad for the M4 that is mind-blowing. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you also to you, Owen Thomas. You're probably just going to go home and have a nice meal, but whatever you do this evening, I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for being here. He's managing editor at the San Francisco Business Times. Thank you for all you do. You look great, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You look fantastic.
It's a love of a good dog. I'm going to walk.
Is that it? It's the dog?
Yeah.
What is so you're lifting, right? That's the thing?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Do you want to take off your shirt and show us?
Speaking of Wicked, supposedly there's a deleted scene with Jonathan Bailey shirtless.
Oh.
Just gonna put that out there.
I'm holding space for Jonathan Bailey. That's what I'm doing. There you go.
So are Jonathan Bailey's pants, let me tell you. I'm talking about the legs. I'm talking about the legs.
I like the legs. Shorts. Yeah. Thank you also to Mr. Sam Abul-Samad, who's wondering what the hell he's doing here. He's a podcaster, wheelbearings.media, telemetryagency.com. Always a pleasure, Sam. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad to be here again. Always fun nice to be with you and the gang here.
Yeah. We didn't have any stories today, but we managed to make it to almost 3 hours. So there. Lisa said
stories to have a good conversation.
Yeah. Lisa said, don't start the show saying there's nothing to talk about, okay? We want people to listen. I said, okay, dear.
It's inevitable that you find something to chat about for a few hours.
Turns out there was quite a bit to talk about. Yeah. We do Twit Sunday afternoons, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. I tell you that because you can watch us do it live if you want. We're on the internets on Discord for the Club Twit members. I'll tell you what Club Twit is in a second. We're also on Twitch, YouTube, yes, TikTok, right? We're on TikTok, yay. We're on Kick. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. And I'm sure I've left something out. But we're on 8 different streams, which is great. You can watch us as you wish. But that was never the intent. You're watching us as we produce a show. But it's really, you can watch it anytime because it's a podcast. You watch it at your convenience or listen at your convenience. Get copies of the show at twit.tv, our website, or go to the YouTube channel dedicated to Twit. Or probably the best thing to do is subscribe in your favorite podcast player. Then you'll get every episode the minute it's done, and you can have it first thing in the morning on Monday. If you are a member of the club, you can get the ad-free versions of the show for mere $7 a month. That's for all of our shows. You also get special programming that we don't put out in public. You get access to the Club Twit Discord. But most importantly, the warm and fuzzy feeling knowing you're helping us keep this show on the air. We are ad-supported, but ads don't cover all of our costs. The club makes a huge difference to our bottom line. Think of it as voting for your favorite content. If you like what you see, vote. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. One other way you can vote, I think the survey is still up for a few more days. That's very helpful to us because it takes you 10 minutes. Go to twit.tv/survey. We use it for a couple of things, of course, to get to know you better, not as an individual, but as a group. We cannot track you and do not want to track you. And advertisers like to know a little bit about the audience in aggregate, and so it helps us sell advertising as well. It's very helpful to us. Twit.tv/survey. If you haven't taken the survey yet, there are a couple more days to do that. Thanks to our esteemed technical director and producer, Benito Gonzalez. Benito, are you editing tonight, or you get to watch the game?
Kevin's doing it tonight.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it. Kevin King, another one of our great talented team. They've been ever since we closed the studio in August. They've been work from home, and it's been. I miss you guys, but it's worked just fine. It's been great. Thanks to all of you for being here. We will see you next time. And as I have said, this is our 20th anniversary year in April, the 20th anniversary of our very first Twit. So as I've been saying for 20 years, thank you for being here. We'll see you next week, and another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.
Amazing.